This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey now, welcome everyone to another Friday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Michael Remis in the host chair for Hustler. He's off to Kansas City for the Chiefs divisional playoff round, a game against Houston Texans tomorrow afternoon, and everyone wanting to know, did he make it? We've all been outside. We've looked out the window. The roads, not great right now, but yes, he left late last night to avoid the storm. He made it to Fargo last night. He's currently in South Dakota. He informed me no snow there, so he's fine. The roads are, in fact, closed from here to Grand Forks. But hey, I'm looking forward to discussing the Winnipeg Jets' win last night over the Seattle Kraken. What a great night out at Canada Life Center to watch the 2-1 win with the game-winning goal. Nice little exclamation point there by Dylan DeMello. The final 30 seconds of the game in his 600th career game. We're going to touch on the Bombers offseason, the CFL schedule release, tomorrow's Jets game against Calgary, and the NFL playoffs. I've got a great lineup of guests coming up. Winnipeg Sports Talk contributor and my seatmate for last night's game, Connor Hrabchak. He's coming up shortly. Make sure to tune in to this channel Sunday morning for WST Sunday Live with Connor, Liz Hood, and Jacob Stoller. And then Connor brings Jets Weekly on Monday morning. So, hit the notification bell on here. Subscribe to our podcast to make sure you don't miss any of those shows. Winnipeg Blue Bombers play-by-play voice, Derek Taylor. He's coming up. He's also been filling in the host chair for Kelly Moore, who's away. And we'll touch on the Bombers' schedule and signings this week, but also the Jets. And I'm very happy to be joined by Jon Abbott, play-by-play voice of the Calgary Flames on Rogers Sportsnet. He's here in Winnipeg. He'll be calling the game tomorrow as part of Hockey Day in Canada. It's also Country Day at Canada Life Center. Yeehaw, right? And Hacksaw will be hopping in with his NFL notebook. I do want to thank our sponsors. I wouldn't be here without their incredible support. Some of them for a long time. We're approaching 4 years here in action on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Princess Auto, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Fans First, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and the Winnipeg Jets. Yes, what a game last night. The WST Group 4-0 at Canada Life Center. Shout out to everyone who bought tickets in our package, single games, and came out with us. Great to see some familiar faces there, but also meet some new people outside Section 316. We'll be back. The group Friday, February 7 against the New York Islanders. Visit winnipegjets.com/WST to get your tickets to that one, or the Friday, March 28 game against New Jersey. Bit of a different game last night for the Winnipeg Jets, where they didn't score 30 seconds into the game like they did against Colorado. It was a low-scoring, grinded-out game. Seattle got on the board first in the first period, where they outshot the Jets. It was Matty Beniers getting on the board, assist from Capo Caco, who's acquired this season, and Jaden Schwartz. And I don't know what was said in the dressing room after the first period, but the Jets stuck to their game and really took it to Seattle, outshooting them 19-5 in the second period, 9-3 in the third. The Jets came at goaltender Joey Daccord wave after wave, and he was excellent, stopping 34 of 36, not including a couple of posts. But it's been the story all season. The Jets' power play, number one in the league, getting them on the board. Mark Scheifele is 27th of the season, from Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey. In the past with the Jets teams, the power play sometimes be of a bit of a momentum suck, and I would see jokes in the chat about wanting to decline it, not taking advantage of certain opportunities. This year, the exact opposite, where the power play is first in the league and propelled the team into first in the Western Conference. The question this year isn't if the Jets are going to score on the power play, but how fast are they going to do it? As we've seen so many times, they win the draw, and it's quickly back of the opponent's net. Incredible to look at the NHL stats right now. Mark Scheifele, he's second, tied for second in goals. Kyle Connor is right behind him. Kyle Connor also top 10 in scoring. While it was a tight game, the Jets weren't able to pull away, and it looked like we were headed to overtime, but it was Dylan DeMello in his 600th career game getting a pass from Nikolai Ehlers and burying an incredible wrist shot in the top corner past Joey Decord. Was an epic celebration by the team, jumping up and down on the ice around DeMello, who's acquired by Kevin Cheveldayoff in a trade years ago, and he's signed here 2 contracts when he could have become a free agent. So this trade really has paid off. DeMello has made a home in Winnipeg with his family, welcoming another child this offseason, and is ingrained in part of the leadership group with the Jets, and you really saw that with that celebration, for the winning goal. So it was a great night. I'm pumped to be joined by Connor in just a second, but first, I got to give a shout out to Paul Edmonds on CJOB. This is how the game-winning goal sounded.
In the slot, here's Ehlers. Ehlers back toward the high slot. DeMello shoot. Score! With 27 seconds left in the third period, Mr. 600 tonight gives the Winnipeg Jets a 2-1 lead with his second goal of the campaign. Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah. I love that from Paul Edmonds. What a great call. Shout out to CJOB for that audio. Connor, welcome to the show. My seatmate from last night. I spent so much time with you during the game. Nice to have you here on the show for the start. What's going on?
And last night's game was so much fun. That was my first game sitting in the seats for the last 2 seasons. I've been up in the press box every single game or every game that I can make, and had to come out of the press box and into the seats there with the WST group. It was so awesome meeting everyone. It was kind of a low event game, which is great. If I'm not going to work the game, let's make it low event and not win it until the end. And that's what they did. And Dylan DeMello, Mr. 600 with the snipe of his life to give the Jets a win 2-1. I thought we were headed to overtime, like you said, but that was a great night, and it was awesome seeing everyone in the concourse before the game and at intermissions and stuff like that.
Yeah, here's a picture me, you, and Huss there outside section 316. I had to get the group photo there. I should probably put one on Instagram, and we do have to give a shout. We did meet a listener, Kane O'Connor from Australia, listens to the show and made sure to come and say hi. Here's that photo as well. So shout out to Kane. He's in Winnipeg now, but listening all the way from Australia. So shout out to everyone in Winnipeg and beyond who's watching here on YouTube, listening on the podcast as well. But Connor, the Jets, they seem to find a way to win, and it doesn't matter what type of game it is. Is it a high-scoring game? Is it a lower-scoring, low-event, grinded-out style game? They're able to find a way into the win column, and they did it again last night. Just impressions of what we saw there with Dylan DeMello ending it 27 seconds left.
Yeah, before we get into the game, I just want to say that I think you had the nicest jersey in the building with that St. John's ice caps.
Someone was chirping me on X saying ice caps aren't playing. I'm like, whoa. There's a number of former ice caps on the ice, and Connor Hrabchak, Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey, Adam Lowry. I don't have a number on that thing, but one can dream. We'll see what happens there. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that was awesome. And the Jets, the funny thing, the power play, like last year, this is a game tailor-made that they would lose because of special teams, and we would come on here the next day and say they got goalied, the special teams lost them the game, or they didn't convert on any of their power plays and they went to overtime, something like that. But the power play got them going. Mark Scheifele, like you said, we were sitting next to one another talking about is the question with the power play this year isn't whether or not they're going to score, it's how quickly and how many players are going to touch the puck. It's just so efficient. And Mark Scheifele with an incredible shot. The Jets were pressuring on that the whole time. And then in the third period, I thought the back 40 minutes of this game, which we've seen a lot with the Jets recently, they dominated. And Seattle didn't really have any grade A chances. I know Connor Hrabchak made a big breakaway save off of Burakovsky, which was right in front of us in section 316. But it was a great team effort from the start, and the power play and Dylan DeMello got the job done. And the Jets, we saw it against Colorado where the back 40 minutes of the game, like Colorado just had nothing and the Jets controlled play. This was another night where maybe the first period, the Jets got off to a bit of a slower start, down 1-0, but the last 40 minutes, Joey Daccord held the Kraken in this game, and the Jets eventually prevailed. I thought even if the game went to overtime, I had a good feeling about how the Jets were playing at that point, but it didn't even need overtime with Dylan DeMello, noted sniper, giving the Jets the win.
Yeah, I was like texting someone after the game. What a snipe by Czech's notes. Dylan DeMello, second goal of the season. Only 19 of his career. He's been a mainstay on that pair with Josh Morrissey, and he's again made a home in Winnipeg, and not known for his scoring, but there he was. And yes, the Jets outshot the Kraken 36-19, out-attempted them 72-49, controlled the play for a majority of the game, but couldn't quite beat Joey Daccord. And, part of that game-winning goal, I think Nikolai Ehlers, a huge part of that. In his own end, the spinorama breakout pass to Adam Lowry at his own blue line. Lowry dumps it in, and Alex Iafallo, he's in hard on the forecheck, and Adam Larson's got it on his stick. He's trying to rim it around, banks it off the glass, takes a weird bounce right to Ehlers, who found a DeMello cutting to the net. That line, since they've put together, is Adam Lowry. The question that we're going to be talking about all show is Adam Lowry the Jets' second-line center that they've always been looking for? This line was excellent yesterday. They had a number of shots on goal, 14, Iafallo 7, Ehlers 6, Lowry 1. Out-attempted Seattle 27-11 when they were on the ice. And, Lowry had a post, Ehlers assisting on the game-winning goal. You have to be impressed with what the second line has brought when, on a night, the Scheifele scored on the power play, but you can't expect a hat trick from Kyle Connor every game like they did against Vancouver.
Yeah, definitely not the top line strongest performance at 5-on-5. Like you said, they got the goal on the power play, which was crucial. But that line, I'm just bringing up the stats here. The scoring chances with them on the ice, 7-2 in their favor. The high danger chances, 4-1 against Seattle. And look, I don't know if anyone caught it, but on insider trading before the game, Darren Dreger had a hit from Canada Life Center talking about how the Jets believe that Adam Lowry can be their second line center, and they're impressed with what they're seeing so far in a small sample size. And I was saying this to you yesterday, but clearly Darren Dreger is the Jets guy. He got the interview with Chipman last year. He always breaks the Jets news or trades first. So when he says something about the Jets, there's always that kind of that asterisk behind it, like, okay, that maybe the Jets really are thinking this because he's clearly their guy. And hey, if the Jets are believing that, then that changes their plans at the deadline. Adam Lowry's your 2C. This Ehlers, Lowry, Iafallo line has been incredible against tough opponents too. Like, they were great against Colorado. Vancouver definitely quit on Tuesday night, but they were still good against Elias Paterson's line. And then last night, they were easily the Jets' best line at 5-on-5. Alex Iafallo has fit in nicely on that line too. I know we talk a lot about the Ehlers-Lowry duo, but he's forechecking hard, breaking up pucks, defensively responsible, moving up in the lineup. He's been a fourth line guy the majority of the time here in Winnipeg, but up in a top 6 second line role, he's flourishing. And this line, the Jets need to give it a longer look, even when Appleton and Nemeth cover back, because the results that they're putting out right now could change what we see at the deadline. You don't need to target a 2C. Maybe you just need a bottom 6 forward, or maybe a winger, or maybe you put all of your assets into the defensive side of the puck. This really changes a lot of things, and that line deserves a ton of credit.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Vancouver, who quit on Tuesday night. It wasn't much better for them last night in the loss to the LA Kings, where Rick Tocchet had to sit JT Miller down at the end of the bench. Fascinating what is going on there. But on to the Jets. Yeah, I mean, the second line seems to be rolling, and you talk about Appleton and Nemestikov. They did skate on the ice this morning. They had a lightly attended optional, tweets Ken Wiebe. And Mitch Clinton notes Appleton on the ice. Nemestikov, who I just said. Hayden Fleury and Colin Miller were those also participating. And then Ville Heinola, Dylan DeMello, Dominic Toninato, and Eric Comrie on the ice. Scott O'Neill saying earlier this week, when Hayden Fleury and Colin Miller come back, he hadn't really decided. They had played well when in the lineup. We'll have to see what happens with the D pairs. Maybe we will know more tomorrow. It was Arneal talking, I think it was Marty Johnson after practice, and I haven't seen those updates. We'll talk more with Murat later on. And you mentioned Dylan DeMello scoring the winner, beloved in the dressing room. You saw the celebration. How about the jacket presentation in the 600th game? Here's the Winnipeg Jets putting this one out on social media of Ehlers and DeMello getting the jackets.
All right, we know who this one's going to. Great job today, boys. Thanks for making it special, and let's finish off this homestand and then go to Utah there.
Yeah. Great job today, boys. I'm going to stick it with that play. Fly dog, great play at the end.
Yeah. Great job, boys. Let's keep this going. Good game.
Yeah. Who said nicknames in hockey were dead, Connor? You got Fly Dog there and Nikolai Ehlers. And smoke for Dylan DeMello. So not every nickname, Connor, has to be your last name with an IE or a Y or an S at the end. So whenever you hear, nicknames are dead. And then Brandon Tanev wasn't on the ice. He's injured for Seattle, but he's been rusty. So the Jets seem to have a knack with handing out some quality nicknames. Here, let's hear from Dylan DeMello, though, after the game. Talked about scoring the winner in game number 600.
Yeah, that was awesome, I think. Obviously I'm a guy that doesn't score a lot. 600 games is obviously, I think it's a great accomplishment. I'm proud of it. It takes a lot of people to help you get there. So, that was kind of in my mind before the game. And, between your family, your friends, coaches, everybody, your teammates, all the staff here to kind of just get you here. So that was that was special on its own right. And then, score the game winner, obviously just kind of put the cherry on top and to get the win. So, it was a really special night, a night that I'll definitely remember.
Some of the staff here are showing pictures of the celebration afterwards. Nick talked about the celebration when you got in the room and how they treated you, but just take us through how it feels to get the reaction from your teammates that you got out there.
Yeah, it was great. I think, you kind of come to in our initial huddle, guys are going nuts and, profanities and all that fun stuff. And then you come to the bench and you can just see everybody's, face lighten up. And then, so that was great. And then, 30 seconds, we got to get right back into it and get the win. And then, come to the room, everybody was all jacked up. So, we got a special group. Everybody, makes you feel special no matter your role here. And, it was, like I said, it was a special night.
Dylan DeMello says special night, love profanity, all that fun stuff. Big celebration, but then, you still had to finish off the final 30 seconds of the game. Seattle had it in the Jets, and they were able to grind it out. Here's one more from Dylan DeMello. Big celebration there with him and Ehlers on just raising his hands in the air. What was going through his mind after firing that one top corner, in front of, great screen there by IFL and Lowry Decord, who had been so great. Did not see it. I don't think he did at all.
I think it was just kind of euphoria, to be honest with you. It was just so pumped. I think I had my hands in the air for quite a while, so I just thought I'd look up there as well to see if there's anything up there. You don't think, you just kind of let your emotions take over, and then I think, the time of the game, I think you just kind of let loose a little bit, and it wasn't too crazy. I guess, I wasn't really necessarily surprised, but you just let your emotions, you kind of get the best of you there.
When you hit a milestone like 600, do they just give you one law of physics to break or one stanchion to call, or how did that puck actually come to you? What happened there?
I mean, it was a very unfortunate bounce for Seattle for sure. It went off a stanchion, kind of. Maybe Nicky might have been the only guy to see it, and he kind of just pulled up on a dime, and I just saw a hole and was able to take it. And we had a great screen in front from Al and Laus, and goalie didn't see anything and was able to put it in the top shelf.
You saw the spot all the way?
I saw I saw it right away, and then when I kind of decided to shoot, it just opened up even more. So it just kind of was a bit of a moving screen, and timed it well, and was able to put it home.
Saw the spot right away, put it home. An incredible shot there by Dylan DeMello, and I still say it's the best Jets goal song with Amber, This Is Your Night, taking me back to Night at the Roxbury in 1997, blasting through Canada Life Center. I mean, what a scene that was. You thought you were headed to overtime and everyone jumping up and down, celebrating the game-winning goal there, Connor.
Yeah, and you could feel it building too, right? Because like we've said, the Jets in the last 40 minutes of this game had all the chances, all the shots. So the fans were kind of like, here we go. How is this game going to go to overtime here? And then Dylan DeMello gets that last chance. It's a really nice play. I mean, he credited Nikolai Ehlers and the screen in front from Lowry and Iafallo. It's a really, really nice play from Ehlers to kind of curl back, find that second wave of attack. And then Lowry and Iafallo tying the screen perfectly, crossing DeCord's eyes right when DeMello's shooting. And like he said, there was a spot there, but it opened up even more when Joey DeCord couldn't see what DeMello was looking at, right? And it was a well-timed play at a well-timed moment with only 27 seconds left, giving the Jets the win. That was nice.
Yeah, so the Jets getting ready for Calgary. Calgary, I mean, they're, I think, above expectations this year. Currently in a playoff spot, Vancouver has faltered. They're coming off 2 losses in St. Louis. They did not back-to-back, but 2 games in one city, Tuesday and Thursday this week. So, I mean, for the Jets, Connor just seemed to want to keep it rolling here. They've have these alternate lines here after not changing them up for so long. You have, Lowry, Iafallo, Ehlers, Niederreiter, Perfetti, Kupari, and the fourth line was solid too. Barron, Gustafsson, and Dominic Toninato. I mean, what did you see from the Niederreiter Perfetti line? I mean, had some nice chances there, and it seemed to be a bit of a match with their skill sets.
Yeah, it's coming along, and I like it more than I did Ehlers and Perfetti together. And I really don't think that it's a coincidence that both of these players look better apart from one another. And that's nothing against both of those guys. It's just a chemistry fit. We saw it with the Mesikov in the middle of them both on the second line. They had been struggling for a long time, even when Ehlers was healthy at the start of the year, even when he came back. And now that they're kind of apart from one another, I've liked the way Cole Perfetti's played. I mean, he had a really nice play last night as well. Stripped the puck from Vince Dunn and had a shot in the high danger middle of the slot that Joey DeCord got his blocker on. But Vince Dunn is a player who's being mentioned that if there's an injury to Team Canada's blue line, he should be one of the players that should be called up. And there's Cole Perfetti stealing a puck from him in a high danger spot and firing a shot that's just barely saved by DeCord, who looked unbeatable until the last 27 seconds. So I've really liked Cole Perfetti this past week, I'd say. I think he's really playing a more complete style alongside Nino Niederreiter. And like I said, I don't think it's any coincidence that both Ehlers and Perfetti are looking better apart from one another. Again, that's nothing against those guys. I just think the chemistry hasn't really been there with those two. And if the Jets have kind of stumbled into something here where maybe Perfetti and Niederreiter have chemistry and Lowry and Ehlers, this changes a lot with the Jets lineup complexion going forward.
Yeah, the Jets record now 31-12-3 seems to be pretty good. On this season-long 8-game road trip, 8-game homestand, 4-1-2, with a chance to put the cherry on top at Country Night tomorrow. Yeehaw! You got to say yeehaw after Country Night, of course, against Calgary. And yeah, just going over some of the numbers. Perfetti, Kupari, Niederreiter, shot attempts 4-12 against 8. But that Barron, Gustafsson, Toninato line, very solid as well. Coach Scott Arniel praising their zone time as they had 8 shot attempts for and only allowed 1. You really saw the speed of Barron and Gus working hard in the corners. Connor, I know you have to go here, so thank you for coming on. Any final thoughts? I know you wanted to weigh in on the Bombers schedule. I know you got thoughts on the Bombers schedule was released yesterday. Did you want to get those in and let everyone know? Everyone's got an opinion on the
Right.
opponents. The bye week, week 1. What is that?
I know.
How do they draw the short straw there?
Yeah, that's the most disappointing part, obviously, is the week 1 bye. Like, just going to be sitting there watching CFL football and there's no Bombers, and the most exciting time, like the CFL's finally back. I think there's 3 or 4, including the Banjo Bowl, of course, there's 3 or 4 maybe Saturday afternoon games, which I actually like. I think those are going to be a big hit, especially with families and being able to bring the kids. You're not going to bring them on a Thursday night with a 7:30 kickoff, right? So I think that'll be really, really awesome to have those Saturday afternoon games. And just one last thing on the Jets. Every time the Calgary Flames are in town, we got to ask the question, which right shot defenseman are we not letting leave town? Mackenzie Weegar or Rasmus Anderson? That's the trade deadline question this year. Which one are we keeping?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Jon Abbott. He's a play-by-play. I mean, does Craig Conroy's plans change with them in a playoff spot?
Playoff spot, yeah.
And you look at Calgary, they got 2 first-round picks this year and 2 first-round picks next year. At a certain point, how many first-round picks do you need? And maybe do they deal one, make a trade like, I don't know who, make a trade, and get an actual player instead of just trying to acquire futures. They've got a new arena coming. They've seemed to have something there. And the goalie, Dustin Wolf, will get some more insight on him from Jon Abbott. But, yeah, I know Murat very high on, who is it, Weegar he's got in his. I'm going to ask Murat about that as well. So, should be exciting country night. And hey, get there early if you want to get the giveaway cowboy hat, Connor. Running Man says, wouldn't that be something if a Jet got a hat trick? Sure would be a lot of cowboy hats on the ice.
Right. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that's a good point. We'll see. Maybe Kyle Connor will have an encore for Tuesday night.
Perfect. Well, Connor, you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for hopping on here. And hey, great time sitting with you last night at Canada Life Center during the
Likewise.
Jets Kraken game, making jokes to each other and planning the show throughout the game, right?
Yeah, that was a blast. Thanks, Remo. And maybe I'll come back February 7th for the next WST night. I had such a great time. Maybe I'll come back.
Maybe. And hey, while I didn't hit the goal scorers parlay from Coolbet, I did end up hitting the points from the point one. And Josh Morrissey contributed to that. Evan Bouchard and who's the other one? Wierenski on there. Anyways, Connor, thanks. I got DT in the green room. We'll throw to him in a sec.
Take care.
There he is. Yeah, thank you, Connor. There he is, Connor Hrabchak. Follow him on X. Connor Hrabchak 1. And check him out on this YouTube channel right here, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. for WST Sunday. They will be recapping Jets and the Flames. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell if you've got a bad memory like me and you might forget. Coming right up, Derek Taylor. He's play-by-play voice of the Bombers, but he's also been doing the Jets hosting on CJOB during this homestand, so I'm pumped to be joined by Derek. But first, here's Huss.
Do you want to thank the great people over at Rolly's Transfer for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk? Keep an eye out on the roads. The new Rolly's WST truck is out helping Winnipeggers move to their next destination. Hey, Rolly's is family owned and operated and has become the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba over the last 60 years in business. If you've got a move coming up in 2025, get the white glove treatment from Rolly's and get a great deal for being a WST listener. Head on over to their website, click on request an estimate in the top right corner and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when you're moving, where you got to go, and what needs to come with you. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly, get you a great quote, and get you locked in to make that next move for you and your family in 2025. Moving this year, get the white glove treatment from Rolly's. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollys.com. A nice break in the weather today. It's actually gorgeous outside. It was brutal the last few days, and bad news, we're going to get right back to it, which means this is your chance to make sure that you're not on the side of the road calling one of your buddies for a boost or CAA. Make sure that you're ready for what's to come in the next few months in the teeth of Winnipeg winter. And that would be going down to Manitoba Battery, making sure your battery is great. You can get free testing at either Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive. And if you need a new battery for your car or your truck, shop local, get the best prices in town, and heck, the best service as well. Manitoba Battery will deliver your batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. So give them a call or shop online today at manitobabattery.com and don't get left out in the cold. And hey, our friends at F Apparel are also ready for the new year. If it's new year, new you, new wardrobe, and you need to step up your menswear game, head on down to F Apparel. Custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories in the city as well. Of course, fellas, if you're getting married this summer, you know they're already working on big wedding plans, and heck, they've got a great deal for a discount for the wedding party when you and the fellas get your suits for the big day. Get on that as well. Pop by and see them, 190 Smith Street downtown. You can also find more information or book a fitting online at their website at EPHapparel.com.
There's Huss. He did make it safely past the border last night. He is in South Dakota. No road closures there, so he's going to make it to KC for tomorrow afternoon's opener with the Chiefs and the Houston Texans. We're going to get to some CFL, but Derek Taylor has been filling in for Kelly Moore, hosting CJB. DT, I got to ask you about that game last night. It seems like you've come into the host chair, filling in at the right time here. Seen some incredible games.
It was one, and I was talking about it on the post-game show, and it was not in any way a lie. Like, as that third period wore on and the Jets could not get a goal, just couldn't find a way past Joey DeCourt. I'm like, my stomach started to turn a little bit. Remis, I'm like, is this going to happen? Are they going to get goalie? This isn't right. This shouldn't go to overtime and be 3-on-3, and the luck factor involved in that. They're so dominant in this game, but hot goaltenders can just ruin everything for a team, right? So when DeMello finally snipes that one with whatever it was, 27 seconds left to it, okay, I can breathe again. My cool bet wager came through as well, so that was always super nice. Yeah, no, it was one of those ones where just with the way the games have gone the last little bit, I'm just riding it emotionally, and it's not something that happens to me too often.
Yeah, I mean, they scored right away the last two games against Colorado and Vancouver. You're like, what, they haven't scored in like the first minute? What's going on here? But, I mean, you have to be really impressed by the way the Jets have played this homestand, especially going back, I don't know, last Tuesday against Nashville. I mean, they didn't win against LA. They lost in overtime. But, I mean, they're just continuing. This has been a fantastic season.
Yeah, even that LA Kings game was tough, right? And it was a hard game, and there was no way to get into the middle against the Kings, and it's 1-1, and it goes to overtime, and they end up giving that one away. But a superb defensive performance last night. They allowed 19 shots on goal, which you're going to do pretty well if you allow 19 shots on goal, just neutering the other team. And it's kind of the big change from last year, right? Again, the guys were kind of running me through it on the post game show of. Last year, they were, number one defensively, goals allowed, but they were number 15 in offense. This year, they've kept up that defensive strength. But, oh, by the way, they're one of the top scoring teams in the league now. So you go, okay, I see what you're doing here. It's no longer, at least to this point of the season, sacrificing offense for defense. It's, hey, guys, we can do both. And you saw it with Nikolai Ehlers, gives up the puck at the offensive blue line, races back to defend the 2-on-1, makes a sliding stop to keep any kind of decent shot from going on Connor Hrabchak. Cole Perfetti chasing guys 200 feet down the ice and, stick checks in the offensive zone to earn himself extra chances. You look at it and go, man, for me, year 3 of filling in for the great Kelly Moore in this spot, the last 2 Januaries, they kind of fell off right after having great starts. This one, it feels different. No idea what that means for the playoffs, but at this moment, it just feels different because there is now everything going on in the Jets' favor.
Yeah, they're scoring goals, saving goals. Anytime Connor Hrabchak gets 19 shots, he's going to stop a majority of them, saving 18 of the 19. League leading, incredible numbers: 197 goals against, 929 save percentage, has as many shutouts as regulation losses, which is very fun stat. But Derek, when you're not filling in for Kelly Moore, you're doing play-by-play for the Bombers, and we've been waiting for it for months. Finally here, the CFL schedule. Everyone's got an opinion. Initial impression of yesterday's big release.
Initial impression for me is positive. There'll be some things that I'll nitpick along the way. But the Bombers got what they got, right? A team like Saskatchewan has buys in weeks 5, 10, and 16. And you go, well, that's the perfect schedule. Even then you get a break and even sections of the season. The Bombers weeks 1, 6, and 18. So they'll play in 11 straight weeks. Okay, not ideal, but somebody's got to bite the bullet of that week 1 bye. But you look at the first game they play is at home. It's in week 2, but it's the first game they play, and it's Buck Pierce bringing the BC Lions into town. Perfect. Absolutely. You wanted it to be a Grey Cup rematch, I understand, but this is Buck Pierce brings his team back. We get a chance to celebrate him or boo him. However Bomber fans are going to take it, we get that one early on. You get Toronto in a Grey Cup rematch early enough. I think that's week 8. There's a lot of Saskatchewan, but at the end of the season, you get week 19, if I'm right. Week 19 is Edmonton. Week 20 is Saskatchewan. And you look at that and go, man, if Edmonton is on the rise under Mark Killam, and if Saskatchewan is, the number 2 seed again, pretend the Bombers are number 1, those could be critically important games as to who's going to win the West. And you go, okay, well, I like that. The final week at Montreal, okay, fine. It is what it is. Super East heavy at the end. Okay, fine. You have to put these schedules around. But yeah, I have a lot of positive things. There are some negatives we could dive into, Remis, but no, I'm a fan of this. Not a lot of 4-day weeks for teams. I think last year 17 times the team played on 4 days rest. This year it's only 11. The Bombers have a couple of those, and I believe one is against a team coming off a bye. So that's not ideal. But yeah, ultimately, I don't have too many beefs with what the Bombers got. They won't love Thursdays at home to start the season, but somebody's got to take those too.
Games at home, which I found an interesting quirk in the schedule, and the number of times they play a team back-to-back, at least for them. Yes. They play BC week 2 and week 3, and Calgary week 5. Then they have the bye, and then they host Calgary again, and then Toronto week 8 and week 9. So in the first, in the first bunch, you're only seeing a couple teams. I don't know how the Bombers approach these like back-to-back weeks in the past. It seems interesting this year.
Yeah, they love it. They love it, right? And then, of course, the Banjo Bowl warm-up in the Banjo Bowl was Saskatchewan. They love it because from a coach's perspective and from a scouting perspective, you just saw them last week, right? And you did all your prep for BC for week 2. That week 3 ends up being an easier week on coaches, on players, because, hey, we know what they're about and we saw them, up front in person. So it's right there in our minds. From the fans' perspective, the BC one kind of rankles me, right? Because the last time they'll see the BC Lions is week 3. Well, what if these are 2 playoff teams come the end of the season? They won't play each other for 19 weeks? Not great. Not great. The Toronto one, okay, there's not a Western race with the Toronto Argonauts, but yeah, the BC one is one of those weird ones where they're done with the team by week 3. Last year they were done with Calgary quite early. Okay, I would like it to be better, but there is a lot of stuff going on in the schedule.
Yeah, give and take. I do wonder if all the teams like draw straws for that week 1 bye and the Bombers get the short one. I don't know. Is Wade Miller in there with all the presidents drawing? But I'm sure it's really complex to put this together. Someone's got to eat that week 1 bye. I'm sure there's a rotation.
Well, they used to do it where they would have 5-game weeks where the Ottawa Redblacks would play like Thursday, whatever it was, Wednesday, Monday, or whatever weird combination of games. Thank goodness those are gone, because that second game was generally not great for the team that had to play it. So someone has to bite the bullet. And as long as it's not more than every 9th year, okay, share that pain of the week 1 bye around with every fan base.
Sure, and we've gone over the schedule, but let's talk about some of the players. We've seen a number of players re-signed, so far: Willie Jefferson, Jamal Parker, Kyrie Wilson, Shane Gauthier, Jake Thomas. But there is one new player, and he was released by Edmonton because free agency doesn't start till next month. But Dylan Mitchell, receiver signed by the Bombers, he's in town. And is he replacing Ontario Wilson, who went to the NFL Jets? That was announced last week. Or is someone going to be the odd man out, whether Kenny Lawler or Dalton Schoen, who can become free agents? Where does Dylan Mitchell fit in with the Bombers? Yeah. And what does it mean for the receivers?
I hope it's replacing Pokey Wilson. He makes probably double what Pokey made last season. So I hope it's replacing Pokey Wilson. But you start to look at it and go, reported 150 for Dylan Mitchell. Nick Dembski's already under contract. Dembski, if I'm not mistaken, is a top 5 paid receiver in the CFL. Brady Oliveira is the highest paid running back. Can you get both Lawler and Schoen back under contract for that? As we approached the end of last season and coming into this free agency, I thought receivers were going to end up taking haircuts just because they were making money. And Geno Lewis at $320,000, Edmonton didn't use him to. I don't blame Geno for it, but I don't think Edmonton used him to that $320,000. You see Ed Hervey saying, "There's no way I'm paying a receiver that much money." Kenny Lawler made a real good salary, $285, I think it was the number I saw yesterday. Kenny missed 8 games with a broken arm, and you go, Can we pay these giant salaries and not have 15 touchdowns and 1,800 yards from a guy? So I hope that the Dylan Mitchell one is an accessory to the Dalton Schoen, Kenny Lawler, because man, as a Dylan Mitchell is not a 3-4 receiver, when the receiving core receiver in the CFL. He's better than that. And if that is the Bombers' 3rd, 4th guy behind Lawler, Schoen, Dembski, man, they'd be set to fly. There's no finishing 7th in the league in total offense. Like, it's back to number 1 if all's healthy. And then the redundancy, right? Like the cover for the Bombers had it awful last year. Sorry, I'm just trying to play with my dog here who's driving me bonkers. When Schoen goes down in week 3 and Lawler was already out, it was very thin, as it would be when you lose 2 absolute stars in that receiving core. So this would give them an extra layer of protection in a year that is very important to them. 1, in that they're hosting the Grey Cup, and 2, we might be at the end of this era with guys in their mid to late 30s. We might be at the end of this era of near unprecedented runs to the Grey Cup.
One thing about Dylan Mitchell, I noticed on his CFL.ca, he does punt returns and kickoff returns. That was an area of concern for the Bombers last year after Janarian Grant went to Toronto. We saw what he did in the Grey Cup, but could Dylan Mitchell be an option, you think, for returns?
I would probably rather see him be the full-time X-wide receiver, like he and Lawler sharing that short side of the field. I would probably rather it be there. I was kind of caught off guard seeing him return kicks in Edmonton because I wasn't sure that was in his skill set. I just knew that from the outside he can torch cornerbacks. I remember it's funny that they signed Winston Rose. When we do our fantasy segment of CGOB pregame show, I went back and pulled out old clips of us absolutely nailing our fantasy picks for the week. And the one I had was Dylan. I said Dylan Mitchell's going to get a touchdown off Winston Rose. And in that game, he just absolutely zips by Winston Rose and boop touchdown. I think it was a stop and go after a wide receiver screen. And you go, okay, now this guy can really make things happen on offense. I would probably rather that be maybe a younger guy, maybe someone who is, just nominally on the depth chart as a running back, the way Chris Smith was last year, somebody in that vein, just so that Dylan Mitchell can be out there going full speed as a receiver for 50, 60 snaps a game. But we'll see where they go. Returning was not, not a strong point for the Bombers last season at all. There wasn't, apart from probably 3 returns from Lucky Whitehead, there wasn't much to hang our hats on as Bomber fans. So if they feel Mitchell's the one, but I think saving him up for offense might be the way I would lean to going at this point.
Yeah, it's still early, so plenty of time to speculate on the roster. Free agency opening next month, but a number of players returning. I mentioned them before. Any surprises to you among the group, or Willie Jefferson, Jamal Parker, Kyrie Wilson, Shane Gauthier, and now Jake Thomas was just announced yesterday?
No surprises, honestly. Jamal Parker coming off a season-ending injury. I think people have said, is that a big deal? I honestly think it is, because we don't know what Tyrell Ford's future is. It might be in the NFL. It might be someone throws a big bag of money at him being a starting defensive back who is Canadian and is elite. Like, he was really good last year. So if he is gone, Jamal Parker, boom, done. You're done. Terrell Bonds on one side and Jamal Parker on the other, because going into camp last year and in the first 3 days of camp, Jamal Parker was the starting boundary corner. Okay, he's not a huge body, but he's good. And that guy, BC in 23, they would send Dominic Rhymes at 6'3", 6'4" out and try to jump ball Jamal Parker, and Parker wasn't having it. This guy fights. So I really like Jamal Parker. I don't know that they missed him last year because Terrell Bonds worked so well with Dietrich Nichols on that short side. But having him, I mean, if Ford goes somewhere else, then you have a natural replacement. If Ford doesn't go somewhere else and you make another decision in there, could he be the dime? Can he be one of the corners and move somebody to safety? Whatever you're going to do, I think Parker gives you a lot of, at this moment in January, protection. And then he'll probably, I mean, just the way free agency is likely to play out, he probably ends up being a starter as we would have expected in 2023 or 2024, excuse me.
2024. Yeah, well, we'll wait and see what happens with the rest of the roster. Free agency opens February 11, so less than a month at noon Eastern, and some big names, Brandon Alexander, Johnny Augustine, Adam Bighill, guys that have been here for a long time. You mentioned Tyrell Ford. I mean, you go down the list here, Kenny Lawler,
Dobson, right? Who's going to be the right tackle as well? Yeah, there's still a lot of work to do. I suspect a lot of it's already done. Just the way the Bombers, this guy said, hey, here's Jake Thomas, and every week they have a few guys to leak out, hey, this guy signed. So I suspect a bunch of it is already done, just because, I mean, you're chasing a trip to a sixth straight Grey Cup. The Grey Cup will be in Winnipeg. The Bombers keep winning football games. If you're an offensive player, you get to play with Zach Collaros and all these guys. It's at this moment a really, really exciting place to be.
Perfect. Well, we're counting down. I'm excited. The Grey Cup is here. I can't wait. We saw what Vancouver did as host in November. That's going to be tough for Winnipeg. I'm sure Wade Miller's got a huge celebration planned here. Derek, thanks so much for taking the time. Love having you on. Hearing your thoughts on the Bombers and now the Jets here.
Man, that thing about the cowboy hats on Saturday, man, if Kyle Connor pops 3 in the first period, I love the thought of that. I got the visual in my mind already. I love that you brought that up. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was can't take all the credit. I was running man in chat. Imagine the ice on Saturday, Cowboy night. Oh. Yeehaw, littered with cowboy hats, Winnipeg Jets cowboy hats.
I love it. That's all I want for Christmas right now. That's amazing.
Perfect. Hey, you do have the Homer Simpson Santa behind you, so certainly appropriate here, January 17. DT, thanks so much for coming on. Look forward to hearing. Are you on Saturday on CJOB?
6 o'clock puck drop, 4 o'clock pregame on CJOB.
Perfect. Well, thanks again. I'll talk to you. Hope to catch up again soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Perfect. Take care. There he is. Derek Taylor, he's on X, DT on OB. I think he's on Blue Sky as well. He was doing Paul Edmonds bingo, I heard him mention on the broadcast yesterday. So tune in for that. But hey, the Jets are hosting the Calgary Flames tomorrow. I mentioned Cowboy night, right? So they're giving away the cowboy hats. So let's get ready for that game. I'm so pumped to be joined by Jon Abbott, voice of the Calgary Flames on Sportsnet. As first year doing it with them. He was before in Vancouver and Ottawa. Here he is, Jon Abbott. Jon, thanks so much for taking the time to join me. How's it going? Welcome to Winnipeg.
Thank you. It's nice to catch up with you again. And you know what? This is feeling like hockey weather. So we're getting ready for Hockey Day in Canada. It'll be hosted from Canmore, but we're part of it from Calgary, taking on Winnipeg, and it feels like the perfect backdrop right now to get it into the rink.
Yeah, Jon, first season for you, voice of the Flames on Sportsnet. How's that been? Must be very exciting to be calling games Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, and throughout the season as well.
Well, Saturday, let's start with that. It's always a thrill and an honor. You never take it for granted on a daily basis, but then you have those special moments at the end of the week, and when you see your name come up and know that you get to be in the booth, with that prestigious program and just the great people, both on our Calgary broadcast and then, of course, based out of Hockey Night in Canada studios. So it is a privilege. I'm loving every single second of it. Flames have been really a fun group to follow this season, and 2 Canadian teams on Hockey Day in Canada. Hard to get better than that in the middle of January.
Yeah, huge celebration taking place in Canmore, and we'll be on the broadcast. I actually went to Hockey Day in Canada in Kenora years ago. It was very cool. A lot of festivities throughout the week. I'm sure we'll see on TV, but yeah, we're getting a look at the Flames here tomorrow. I think bit of a surprising season for them, I would say, in the wild card spot, more than halfway through. What's the story of the Flames season from your perspective?
Well, it was great to listen to the players and the veterans in training camp because they believed in this group right away. And I won't go too far back, but I will try to give you the Coles notes in a sense that last year, the last 2 seasons had kind of been about who was leaving. They found this offseason in the summer was about who was there. And that was what the group was focusing on. And it gave them a reinvigorated approach to the start of the season. They had a heck of a start. I mean, they had 1 overtime loss in their first 6 games. They were rolling. And so that started the surprise, I think, around the National Hockey League with the Calgary Flames, inward in that dressing room, believing that they were going to be a tough team to beat. But, a lot of people were expecting them to be a lottery team. And, they've had their ups and downs. They've played through some peaks and valleys, but they're still in a playoff position and looking up at trying to increase their point total. So I think overall for Flames fans, it's been a pleasant surprise. They appreciate the hard work of this hockey team. Could use a few more goals here and there, probably, not to make things so nerving during the course of a game. But it's a team that right now is looking at fighting for a playoff spot and not looking at a number 1 or number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, and just, more short term on the Flames. Interesting schedule here this week. You're in Chicago on Monday, St. Louis on Tuesday, and then again in St. Louis on Thursday. So the home, back-to-back, almost like a playoff series, but unfortunately Calgary was not able to come out on top in either of those games against the Blues, who they're fighting with for a playoff spot.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It was like a mini playoff series, both in scheduling, the fact that it felt like, the opening 2 games of a playoffs where you have a game on Tuesday, a practice off day on Wednesday, and then another game on Thursday. And, you're going tooth and nail. The standings, you're right. It was a 5-point gap, which is now a 1-point gap after the Calgary Flames couldn't find a point in those 2 hockey games. And some of the guys were talking about, okay, well, it's not a divisional rival, but it still feels like, those 4-point games, almost like an 8-point difference in a swing, depending on how the results went. And they didn't go Calgary's way. It was not because of lack of effort, but this is a team that relatively plays tight. I mean, they have 15 wins this season, scoring 3 or less in hockey games. And they are accustomed to playing lower scoring games and trying to really, use their style of play to get them over the edge. It's worked better when the special teams are clicking. They've been in a bit of a dip at times, and it seems really hard to find an extra goal at times. You go back to the road trip, and it starts in Chicago, as you said. Well, they scored more goals in the first period in that hockey game against the Blackhawks than they did in the next 2 total against the Blues. So it's been great when it's worked well, but when they're searching for a goal late in hockey games, at times it's been hard to come by.
Yeah, mentioned goal scoring, but how about goal saving, John? I think the story coming in, they traded Jacob Markstrom in the offseason to New Jersey, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen here with rookie Dustin Wolf and career backup Dan Vladar? How are they going to handle the job? But it seems like Dustin Wolf has certainly passed the early test. 15-7-2 record, 2.57 goals against, and 914 save percentage. Will he be in the net against the Winnipeg Jets? And what can you say about the goaltending Calgary's gotten this season?
Yeah, no confirmed starter as of yet. If I had to put my chips down, I would lean towards Dustin Wolf, which would be actually a really interesting American head-to-head against Connor Hrabchak if he's getting the nod again on Saturday. I know he's had a good run, has Hrabchak, so maybe it's going to turn into a day of rest for him. But, I mean, these are two premier goaltenders in the National Hockey League at different stages of their careers, at different echelons for sure. Hrabchak is having another one of those, Vezina potential type seasons. We don't have to tell you too much about him, but you look at Dustin Wolf, and he's played well above a rookie standards. He's in the Calder conversation, and his home record is dazzling. He's right up there with a guy like Hrabchak. When you look at 5-on-5 numbers, the Flames as a group are trying to play better on the road. That would work for Dustin Wolf as well, but he's done what he's always done in his career. He was a 7th-round draft pick, largely overlooked, partially because of his size, but he was lights out in the WHL with Everett, and racked up goal of the year MVP. He was lights out in the American Hockey League again, goal of the year MVP, and now transitioning to the National Hockey League, he's continued strong play. So, without knowing exactly what they were going to get from Wolf in his first real season figuring out the National Hockey League, the returns have been great, and they have a lot of belief in him. And Vladar's been good as well. You mentioned his role in this, and it was a heavy rotation between the two. And in fact, Vladar was, getting all of the second at back-to-backs and things like that, trying to support were the Calgary Flames, Dustin Wolf in this rookie tenure. But now it feels like, even after dropping the last one to St. Louis, that maybe Wolf is penciled into a few more starts as they head down the stretch to the frozen face-off break. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more Dustin Wolf, but those two have been good as a combo, and Wolf's been very good as a rookie netminder.
Yeah, we'll see. Tomorrow's for the Jets. Held an optional skate today, and we just always assume that it's going to be Hrabchak here, unless it's a back-to-back. So he's been the Jets' workhorse. One player leading the team in points, Jonathan Huberdeau. Right now, he's got 32 in 44 games. I mean, there's so much said about that trade and his contract, but is he finally comfortable in Calgary now that he's leading the team with points?
I think this has been the most fun he's had since joining the Calgary Flames, and I would agree that it's the most comfortable he's looked. And that's really a tribute to how the team has handled things, but also how he has handled things. I haven't been part of his whole tenure in Calgary, but it was easy to see that, through some of the struggling stretches, he didn't pout. He didn't point fingers. He put everything on himself and realized that he might have to change his game. Well, here we are in 24-25, and he has changed his game. There's a little bit more attention to detail on both sides of the puck. There's a recognition that it's not going to be 115 points with Sasha Barkov in Florida, his final year as a Panther. That it's going to be a little bit different in Calgary, and he's embraced it. He took it upon himself in the offseason to really change his training and his approach, spend some time with on the mental side of the game as well with some specialists there, and seems refreshed. And he's been a great fit with Nazem Kadri. They tried it before, didn't work. Well, this season it has. And, I think the two veterans read off each other really well. And it's so important that they're getting the goal scoring from Jonathan Huberdeau, who is going to get 20 this year for the first time since that big season with the Florida Panthers before coming over in a trade. So it is a different looking player. It's a different approach from Huberdeau. It's all worked this season for Calgary. They hope it continues to work, not only because of his contract, but how vital his role is within the team. And he's been fun to watch this year. So it's been a big part of why the Calgary Flames have been able to get to the point where they're in a playoff spot.
Yeah, Kadri and Huberdeau 1 and 2 in team scoring. We'll get a good look at them tomorrow night, Canada Life Center. Jets, Flames, it's country night here, so I don't know. They're going to be playing a lot of country music. Yeehaw is what they're saying. He's saying in the break. You got a cowboy hat and boots now that you're in Calgary, John?
You know what? I was a pretty big country guy before, so those made the move with me. And I'm sure as we get into the off season and I can look ahead to Stampede, they'll be coming out. Not on Hockey Day in Canada, but maybe a little further into the summer.
All right, and a final one for you, John. The trade deadline's coming up. we've been talking here what the Jets are going to do. Seems like GM Craig Conroy's got some tough decisions. How do you think they're going to approach it with the Flames now currently in a playoff spot?
Tough is the right way to phrase that, and not because he doesn't want to improve the team. I think that is the direction they're heading in. You're right. The playoff spot, the way the team has trended, probably changed a little bit of the direction maybe that the organization is going in as far as how they approach the trade deadline. Maybe didn't expect necessarily to be in that spot, but I think the overall outcome can't change too much for the Flames and Craig Conroy. And here's what I mean by that. Are they going to mortgage the future to try and make the playoffs this year? No, they're not. They can't do that and won't do that. So there is a plan in place still to kind of get a certain age group of player, a player that if they're able to commit long-term to, fits with their long-term vision. This is a team that is enjoying the fact that they might get playoff experience for some of these younger players, but their vision and direction is still the next couple of seasons that this team peaks over the next couple of years. And of course, they're getting into that new arena shortly down the road as well. So they're still looking at that. But what are their needs? Well, a right-handed shot center. And lots of teams are looking for help up the middle, including maybe those Winnipeg Jets, depending on how Lowry works out. But it's going to be maybe not the same type of center that other teams are targeting, or Calgary's looking at not just a buffer and an opportunity to try and get a short-term rental for this playoff entrance. Perhaps it's got to fit in the long term. So I do think Craig Conroy is actively looking. I do think the Flames will continue to be involved in conversations. I think there could be a trade or two coming, but it's all still under the umbrella of moving this team forward in the right direction.
Yeah, and Calgary's in a really good spot. They're fringe of the playoffs, but in terms of draft picks, they got 2 first-round picks this year, 2 second-round picks, and they have 2 first-round picks in 2026 as well. So they've done a nice job trading, players the last couple of years, acquiring picks. And I'm looking at UFAs. I know it says Anthony Mantha, but he's been hurt, so I'm not really sure how they're going to approach this. I think it's certainly different, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens before the trade deadline in March. John, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on today. I'm looking forward to seeing your call tomorrow on Hockey Day in Canada on Sportsnet.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's nice to catch up with you again. Say hi to Huss for me, and we'll enjoy an all-Canadian matchup. Again, that's just the one anthem games are special, and it's going to be a good battle. It was in Calgary between the Jets and the Flames, and I think everyone's going to be up for Saturday Night Hockey in Winnipeg.
Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Princess Auto, founded in Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, now coast to coast, but with 3 Winnipeg locations to serve you. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete those projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop down to the location on Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or for the folks in Westmount in Brandon, and check it all out for you. And of course, you can get working 24/7, 365 on those ideas by checking out the Princess Auto website and shopping online as well. Be a minute before we're at Princess Auto Stadium, but we've got that Bomber schedule, so we'll count down to the days. And in the meantime, pop by your local Princess Auto today. Got to give a big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. Speaking of Princess Auto Stadium, Canadian Club, of course, is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Looking forward to seeing and cheersing many of you in the north end of the stadium at some point next year. But in the meantime, 12 months a year, Canadian Club is Canada's favorite original Canadian whiskey since 1848. Pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts and look for the Canadian Club display featuring Canadian Club Classic, Canadian Club 100% Rye and more. And when you're popping by your local beer store, keep your eyes out for Canadian Club and Ginger Ale, pre-mixed cocktails in cans available at vendors throughout the city. Also want to thank our friends at Wallace & Wallace for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Wallace & Wallace has been the fencing and overhead door specialists and leaders since 1946, serving both commercial and residential customers. If your property needs the security and protection of a new fence, Wallace & Wallace has every kind you could possibly need. Vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, or wood fences. And if in 2025 you might be thinking of a new overhead garage door for your home, talk to the gang at Wallace & Wallace. They have Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors, which means they'll have one to perfectly match your home and look great and add value to your home as well. Give Wallace & Wallace a call, 452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will be happy to pop down and arrange a time to come out and see you and give you a free estimate. You can also check them out online at wallacefences.com, wallacedoors.com, or pop down and see them at their showroom on Lowson Crescent, just off of Kenaston.
There's Huss. He's on the road, on his way to Kansas City. He's made it past all the road closures and everything safely in South Dakota. Hey, if you're here, we have, how many people in chat we got? Over 400 plus. What's up, everyone? Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Every time you hit the thumbs up, tells YouTube, hey, we're putting out some pretty good content here, and maybe the algorithm gods will bless us by showing our content to more people. So many people finding our videos on YouTube just by, hey, it's showing up on the main page, and maybe I can make a thumbnail good enough that someone will want to click on it. Hey, we're also available on podcast, and I do want to mention to all the podcast listeners, I've got a new host, and the episodes are showing up way faster than they ever have. I try to get them up by 3:30, 3:40. Sometimes they, once I post them, it takes maybe 5-10 minutes for them to show up in iTunes or Spotify, whatever your favorite provider is. But right away, they are on the front page of winnipegsportstalk.com. I should also mention winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. We are giving away some Manitoba Moose tickets to Sunday's game that closes late tonight. So make sure you get over there if you want to enter. You can do a couple extra things to get additional entries, like following us on social medias or whatever else. But want to give a shout out to everyone in chat. Pumped to bring in Murat, Atesh of The Athletic, I believe fresh off today's optional skate, looking cozy. This is a new room, Murat. Regular listeners may not identify this. I think you're there. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
Okay, good. Let me pull you right in. Once I'm doing everything here. I'm doing everything. So let me bring you. Are you there?
I'm here. Michael Remis, running the show.
I'm doing everything. What's happening? How about that game last night? Hey, what a nail biter there until the end.
Yeah, thought it was going to head to OT for a while. It was a case maybe for me, I don't know about you, but the second 40 minutes was a lot better than the opening period. That second period where they outshot Seattle 20-5 was pretty impressive. So that, it was an interesting way of feeling like the Jets were in control of play, but also somehow not at all surprising that it was still a 1-1 game, and overtime made complete sense, despite that complete control that the Jets seemed to be in. Every now and again, there were some hiccups, and certainly they hit bars, they hit posts, and didn't finish. But for me, it's got to be that Dylan DeMello 600th game milestone night. He gets to bend the laws of physics to celebrate the milestone. Calls the bank off of the stanchion. Nick Ehlers picks it up, and now Dylan DeMello is scoring a top shelf beauty. And he says that he saw the hole that he shot for like at the very beginning of the play, and thanks to Alex Iafallo's moving screen, it opened up. But he's talking like a guy who scores a ton of goals in this league. He had the vision for it, and I guess that's just who you get to be on the night you play your 600th game in the NHL.
Yeah, 600 games. That was his 19th of the season. I had it written down. Yes, 19th of his career. second of the season, and what a beautiful snipe it was. The camera that TSN had from the back, you can see the hole, you can see the screen, and I mean, I don't know how he shot that one through. I mean, that goal, and actually the Mark Scheifele goal, just it seemed like Seattle was blocking shots, getting in lanes all night, and on the two they scored, they were able to dodge a few guys, and those are the two that got past Joey Daccord, who was named the game's first star. I don't know who picked the stars, but I thought maybe they would give it to DeMello for the game-winning goal. You're all hyped for DeMello, and there's first star Joey Daccord, and no one comes out. There was kind of disappointment in the arena, and then Sarah. I mean, he did the interview with Sarah after, but I thought they would have given the home guy the first star there. I don't want to. I picked the first star as one, so it's hard and it's a stressful job. I don't mean to rag anyone, but I was kind of surprised.
Yeah. Somebody out there, what if somebody we know and love might be out there listening right now and going like, they're giving me a hard time right now. For me, it's tough, like, to give the losing team the first star. It's kind of like giving Connor McDavid the Conn Smythe. It has to be a certain level of quality performance before you're giving it to the team that didn't win. But it's a stressful thing. I don't know if like listeners and watchers and everybody knows that, you sort of submit your picks for the 3 stars before the game is over, like 7 minutes left in the third, more or less, and they'll modify them if something crazy happens, because obviously games do get decided at the end. But sometimes you don't have all the information when you're making that call.
Yeah, they tapped me on the shoulder. Like one of the times I was there last year, I was so nervous that I was going to screw it up. I had to do power rankings the entire game of who was going to be the star. I took it very seriously, and you had to it was like a tie game, and I had to hand it in way too early. So a little behind the scenes there, but it was the second line that was on the ice for the game-winning goal. Ehlers, Lowry, Iafallo. I mean, severely outshot their opponents at 5-on-5 last night. Have the Jets found their second-line center all along, and Adam Lowry in this line with Nikolai Ehlers and Alex Iafallo?
I mean, it'd be a great story if they did, right? Like, there was a time when people didn't believe in Adam Lowry as a third-line center anymore, when he was carrying Christian Vesalainen around the ice, right? Like, there was... there was an era, right, where they weren't giving Adam Lowry viable shutdown line, middle six line mates, and people had thought that maybe his game had gone and departed. But now, with Niederreiter and Appleton for so long, you can see what he can do. And all of a sudden, with Ehlers and Iafallo, is he an offensive center now? Can he handle that? You heard Darren Dreger in the game intermission. We're talking about the trade deadline for the Jets, talking about how, well, if Winnipeg likes this, it might reduce the need to go shopping for that second line center. Could save the Jets some assets. Maybe they'd use it for an even better defenseman or help elsewhere in the lineup. That's an idea. But it also seems to me, it was only yesterday we were talking about Vladislav Nemesnikov as the answer in that way, and how Winnipeg punches above its weight there, and how the Jets don't really need a second line center because they've got that covered. So color me like skeptical. I have time to watch and see if they continue to really control their minutes and keep scoring, not just shut down, but do all of those things right. But I'm going to need like several weeks of this before I believe it's a reason not to go upgrading in your forward group.
Yeah, I think it's easy to overreact and be like, yeah, this is it. But in all reality, you do want to see a couple games. But one thing I think is nice for the Jets, they were basically running with the same lines all season. And what if they did have an injury? What if all of a sudden it stopped working? What could they fall back to? And it seems like they found an alternate set of lines here that guys are getting comfortable playing with other players, because you looked at the NHL across the whole league, players that have played the most together was every Jets line was on the top of that list. So we'll see what happens with the forward lines. But in terms of defense, seems like we're getting some healthy bodies. Colin Miller and Hayden Fleury skating. I know you were at the skate today. What's the update on those guys, and could we see them return live? And what's the defense pairs going to look like now that for the first time in a while, seemingly everyone is healthy?
Yeah, it's good news coming down the pipe for the Jets. Defense first, and then even Mason Appleton, Vladislav Nemesnikov are getting closer. But Marty Johnston was the one who spoke to us today, And he said that they pushed Colin Miller and they pushed Hayden Fleury hard today in the optional practice, and they responded well. It seems as though all systems are go. However, they still got to see how their bodies responded to everything. So they're going to check in with the medical staff later today to sort of get an update as to just how ready they are. Traditionally, the Jets will play a player in a full team, non-optional practice at least once before getting them back into a game. So even though we asked Marty Johnson, does this mean, they're an option tomorrow? If they are, do you think that it would be better to get one guy in at a time or both at once? That sort of question. But he deferred to Scott Arniel on that, and that's sensible if they don't have the updates presently. I also think it's probably a pretty good sign that, I would assume that they want to get them into a full practice first, or at least a full team morning skate or two. So my eyes are thinking maybe you get one or both of them back as soon as Monday in Utah. That's kind of my read of it right now. And then Nemestikov and Mason Appleton might be a little bit further than that.
Yeah, one thing I noted on your posts here on X, Colin Miller, took a puck to the throat. You're wondering, is there going to be long-term damage? That could be a very serious injury, but you note that took his breath away for a bit, but he was fine 10 to 15 minutes later. Seemed to avert serious injury there.
Yeah, it's wild to me. He takes a puck in the throat. His larynx ends up fractured. And Ken Weeb pointed out that, he saw it on Colin Miller's way down the tunnel in the aftermath of that. He sort of took a knee at one point just to gather himself. But Miller, his approach was different when he was talking to us. He really downplayed the severity of it, said, 10 to 15 minutes later, he was breathing just fine. Wasn't as big of a deal. It was one of those unfortunate things that happens. And he really leaned, I think, into, first of all, that he was okay and that he was always okay. And also into the fact that he's just grateful to be playing the sport of hockey as a general rule in life. He's a very appreciative guy. That was it's pretty hockey player to take a puck in the throat, fracture your larynx, and then kind of just brush it off like you'd stubbed your toe. But that was his vibe. And then Marty Johnson said that even that same night, he was in the dressing room, and it was like Colin Miller was going out to the other players and making sure that he was vocal so they knew he was okay. He was doing emotion management for his teammates to be like, hey guys, no, I'm all right. And his voice wasn't affected, all that sort of stuff. Obviously they were cautious about it and made sure to, go through all the medical processes to make sure he was all right. But it kind of sounds like he just took it and kept going.
Yeah, crazy. I don't know what a fractured larynx, what the symptoms are. It sounds horrible, but seemingly he's okay. I think we were very worried here on this show, and nice of him to make sure to let everyone know that he was okay. Because, you can get down if you see one of your teammates take a puck to the throat. Now that you're here, Murat, you've been doing some great work at The Athletic this week, asking and answering the questions Jets fans want to know. There's a number of UFAs coming up this offseason, RFAs as well, and you've projected all the numbers: Iafallo, Velarde, Appleton, Nemestikov, Pionk, Ehlers as well. I don't want to reveal your whole article because it is, of course, a subscription website, but was there any big surprise for you in going through this exercise?
Yeah, there are a couple, I would say. It was a fun project to go through and sort of project not what they should, but what they would get on, whether they were an unrestricted free agent or restricted free agent. And so I sort of went under the hood of the evolving hockey model, and they look at all the different factors that contribute to how much players end up making at the end of every year. And, most of them are straightforward, and the two biggest pieces are straightforward. It's point production and time on ice. But the unique thing about the Winnipeg Jets this season is that so many of the guys that are up for free agency, whether restricted or unrestricted, they're playing career roles, like Dylan Sandberg in the top four, playing something like 4.5, 5 extra minutes every night compared to his league or his average before this year. Nikolai Ehlers at a point per game after finally getting on that first unit power play. Neil Pionk's producing at a rate he hadn't for the last few years as well. So a lot of these models out there that are doing these projections, or that did these projections heading into this season, are going to be caught behind because the Jets have outperformed so many of them. I mean, how about Gabriel Velarde in the season he's having on the power play on the top line, really proving that, get ice time, get opportunity, get power play minutes, and, good players will really produce. His contract could easily double, and I don't think Jets fans would be remotely upset about it. The model loves the fact that Neil Pionk plays 22 minutes a night, and he's on pace for 50-something points, especially because in the last couple of years, he wasn't having as great of defensive results prior to this one. The wildest thing, and probably the biggest surprise, is that the Winnipeg Jets are in such a strong cap position that you can go through all 9 of those free agents, and most of them projected to make more than they would have been projected to make when the season started. All of them projected to make more next season than this season, I think. And the Winnipeg Jets, with the cap as projected, could afford them all. And that's wild, thinking about a Nikolai Ehlers unrestricted free agency, a Gabriel Velarde restricted free agency, and the raise he's going to get, Dylan Samberg, Neil Pionk. You can go through all of these projected raises and go, actually, the Jets are in solid cap position. It gets to be their choice. The players, obviously, if Ehlers doesn't want to sign here, that's his own business. But, the Jets don't have to say, well, we've run out of money or budget, and we have to let, half our defense core go, like they did with the Myers and Sherratt and, Trouba era of things once upon a time.
Yeah, you look at the last couple off seasons, and it's really just keeping a lot of the same together. The defense hadn't changed until this past year. Everyone was under contract. You lost Brendan Dillon, and Dylan Samberg stepped into this elevated role. He's making $1.4 million. He's an RFA. I'm sure he's going to get a significant raise. Neil Pionk is a UFA. Other big UFAs, Nikolai Ehlers, Mason Appleton, Vlad Nemestikov, Alex Iafallo, and then RFAs, Velarde, Barron, Kupari. Among the UFAs, if you had to list how confident you were that they would re-sign, who's number one on your list?
Prior to this exercise, and probably still, my answer would have been Neil Pionk with a bullet. I think that there's just a great degree of synergy, I think, between him, his view of the city, how comfortable his family is here. The Jets have showed that he's a big priority for a lot of years now. Obviously, he got the big extension a few years ago, but, they've played him in a top 4 role. They played him top 2 role. They played him so many minutes, even through various injuries and all those sorts of things. He's one of the core pieces of their blue line for so long. So that's one where I've thought to myself, well, this is the one most likely to find, most likely UFA. At the same time, though, if you go purely by point production and the fact that he's on pace for over 50, and if you go by minutes and the fact that he plays 22 minutes a night, he's also on pace for one of the biggest raises of that whole group. And, in the comments of my piece, and I think I agree with it, a lot of people looked at the number and said, well, okay, 8 out of 9 of those numbers make sense. But Neil Pionk, that's an awful lot of money. And so we had a really good debate there in the comments, and I really appreciate everybody who chimed in for that. That's the thing, is Pionk scores enough points that he could command a pretty sizable payday, especially in a world with the cap going up as much as it's projected to do. I don't think he's going to get above $7 million to on his AAV. But that's the only thing, is if his price becomes just too unpalatable for the Jets, it's hard for me, even knowing the cap is going up, to see him making more than Josh Morrissey on the Jets blue line.
Yeah, that was shocking for me to think of him as a player who could command over $7 million. And you mentioned Josh Morrissey making 6.25, but those contracts were signed a while ago. The salary cap is going up. Mark Scheifele is making 8.5, and so is Connor Hrabchak. The Jets have seemed to stick to this salary structure. You think, is that going to get broken moving forward with a player like Ehlers or Kyle Connor becoming a UFA in a couple of years? They seem to want to have a certain hierarchy there. But I wonder how they're going to manage that, with more room available in the future.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm fascinated by how that's going to play out too, because they stuck pretty closely to that $8.25 million. Nobody was going to make more than Blake Wheeler once upon a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a real thing. So first of all, I'm not even sure that Ehlers resigns here. I think that there's a chance that he doesn't, and that would come with its own scenario. At the same time, if he does sign in Winnipeg, which is also, let's discuss as a possibility, I don't see him surpassing 8.5, nor should he. I don't think. Even the projections we have, and I don't even have it in front of me right now, but when I put it together, was it in the sevens? Was it in the eights already?
So the Evolving Hockey preseason on Ehlers in your article was 7.6 million AAV, and the updated was 5 years, 8.4 million AAV.
So that would slide right in under Scheifele and Hellebuck if that's what was in fact signed. Somehow I don't think Winnipeg would go that high on Ehlers, to be honest, but we have to remember that a lot of the numbers we root to are based on old caps, and the cap has shown growth recently and is going to continue to do that. But I think it's easy for the Jets to keep Ehlers and Velarde under those 8.5 million figures. It's funny you mentioned Morrissey a second ago, and I'm thinking, like, if he signed a deal today, it would be, what, 9, 10? Like, this guy who's in the top 10 of Norris Trophy voting each year, and he's producing a ton of points, especially on that power play. Like, things have changed in Jets land. The one guy who is going to completely reset Winnipeg's salary structure is Kyle Connor, not this summer, but next and heading forward. For me, there's no way he stays below 8.5, and I think that the Jets are prepared to really back up the truck, so to speak, to pay that man his money. Before this season's two-way play, I would have been highly critical of that, and the more that, now mind you, he did miss his guy on a goal against last night, but the more that he shows his two-way acumen and actually delivers results and not just sporadic ones on that front, the more you can begin to wrap your head around it in addition to all the offense.
Yeah, and two players, RFAs, getting big raises, as you mentioned. Dylan Sandberg, who coming back from injury, I mean, it's like he never left. It's pretty incredible what he's done to that second pair. And Gabriel Velarde, who stayed healthy and having a career year. Both players due for big raises, which they certainly have room for, which you mentioned. So that'll be for the offseason. But coming up in March, your latest at The Athletic, what a Jets perfect trade deadline would look like. Has that changed with their play, or what would the perfect deadline look like for you?
Yeah, like in this case, I want to be clear, we're playing a little bit of fantasy hockey, right? Like to quote an old Shovel Day Offline,
yes.
Right? I wrote a piece a year ago, or a series of them, a little bit closer to the deadline and a little bit closer to the Monahan trade, that picked Monahan as a Jet and plugged him right into the Jets roster and felt confident about it. Same thing, I think it was a couple days before the deadline, and Tyler Toffoli, I just plugged him into the Jets roster, and the same thing with a depth defenseman, though I didn't name Colin Miller, so I didn't get that. But like, there was a degree of specifics to those pieces that, despite the same title of a perfect trade deadline, we are playing a little bit more fantasy hockey, and we're starting with Winnipeg's biggest needs. If you could fix this first place team, right? If you could get it even more playoff ready than it is, you look at that second line center position, despite Lowry's success and Nemesnikov's past success in that role, and you look at the top 4D. And for me, the ideal, second line center is big, is fast, can play with the type of skill that he might see alongside a Nikolai Ehlers, can play with hockey sense that he might see alongside a Cole Perfetti, who is not going to get sat for the playoffs this year like he did last year. That's a different scenario that we're talking about. Ideally, that player wins faceoffs. Ideally, that player is capable of some penalty killing minutes as well to lighten the load for some of the other players, and ideally is good in that role. And one name that was actually first put to me, I think, on your show, Hustler mentioned it, somebody was talking about him in the comments, is Brock Nelson. that's a player that checks off all of those boxes. I think he's 6'4" on Long Island, has scored 30 plus goals in 3 consecutive years, and a little bit of a down year this year, to be clear, but so are most Islanders skaters. He has a top speed achieved this year that would match Kyle Connor's top speed for third, I think, on the Jets. He has an average playing speed, according to the NHL Edge data, that would also match Kyle Connor, and I think that would be for first on the Jets, if I have that right. It's in the article. The numbers in the article are true, whether I'm remembering them correctly. But the point is, he's fast, he's skilled, he has hockey sense, and he'll be on that Four Nations American team as well. That is a blue sky, checks all of the boxes, clear upgrade, $6 million cap hit, affordable to the Jets. Only hiccup, 16-team no trade clause. So you got to look at other options than that, and we get into it in the piece. On the blue line, though, same deal. If you want to plug in the perfect dream player, for me, it's a Mackenzie Weegar type player out in Calgary. The Flames, of course, they hold on to a wild card spot. He's been an enormous part of what success they've had. It seems unlikely to think that he would be moved. It would be an incredibly remarkable deal, but he offers exactly the skill set you wish Winnipeg's defense would have one more version of. He can clear the crease. He can lay the body. He's a physical player. He moves the puck well. He contributes to offense. He's got snarl. He can play either side. And if you add a player like that to the lineup, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about Logan Stanley or Ville Heinola making the mistakes that they make on the third pair. You can sort of go to a complete top six. We go into a couple of more realistic versions of those players in the same piece, so I hope that folks will read it. But those are the types of fits where if you could find players like that, you can appreciate the Jets' great cap position. If they were able to do it, you would look at them and say, this team has gone from a regular season wagon to one of the best odds of a cup, I think, in the NHL.
Yeah, and the Jets, in terms of trade assets, Murat, they have first-round picks the next 3 seasons, no second and no fourth this year, and no fourth in 2026. So those are the 3 picks that they don't have. So they do have some picks to move. Maybe they want to part with some prospects, but it will be fascinating to see what happens with the Jets this trade deadline. And you're putting out some great content at The Athletic that I would encourage everyone to subscribe to and check out. Murat, you got anything you want to promote ahead of this weekend and tomorrow's big country night against Calgary? Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. This is a digression, I guess, but whenever I hear country night, I think of Wise Guys on Campus. And if you were of a certain era, I lived in residence at the U of M. There's a certain vintage where country night on Thursdays was the thing that your social circle or your social calendar was res night on Wednesdays and country night on Thursdays. And that was it. It wasn't the weekend for whatever reason. I don't know why Wise Guys had those 2 nights cornered. So yeah, if you have any memories of that in the chat, I'd be curious or let me know. Going forward, one thing I'm really excited for is I'm going to be on part of this next trip. So Kevin Cheveldayoff is actually going to speak to myself and a couple of other reporters. I had a practice in Denver coming up this week, and it's kind of his annual pre-trade deadline type of availability. And it's just going to be myself and a couple others there. And we usually don't get a chance to talk to him outside of these enormous Matt Frost sessions here in Winnipeg. So hopefully we can get into some deeper topics and have a real great chat with him.
Yeah, I can't wait to read about that. And one more thing before... No, I think that's it. I think that's it. We're wrapping up. I got Hacksaw any lineup changes for tomorrow? It seems like they're not prepared to put the Miller and Fleury in, just from what you said earlier, what you gathered from Marty Johnston.
Yeah, I would say none projected, and we'll see what they do in morning skate. But just there were maybe 7 skaters today, so if there were any changes coming, you wouldn't have seen it today.
Perfect. Well, Murat, thanks again. I can't wait to have you on the show again next week, and we can hear all about this conversation you're scheduled to have with Kevin Cheveldayoff. Sounds very exciting.
Right on. Thanks very much.
Perfect. There he is, Murat Atesh of The Athletic. Check him out there, or he's on X, WPG Murat, and Blue Sky as well, if you're on there. It's time. NFL Divisional Playoff Weekend. Chiefs, Texans. Hustler will be there tomorrow. We're going to tee the whole weekend up here with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton coming up next.
A big cheers from our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Hey, folks, not only is Boston Pizza your best place in town to gather with your gang for Winnipeg Jets hockey games with pick-a-player contests and chance to win great prizes and swag from Royal Sports, not only is Boston Pizza your number one spot to get together for NFL playoff games and all the big sporting events in the lounge, January is also the month where every single day is Pasta Tuesday at Boston Pizza. Enjoy until the end of the month. Great deals on all your favorite pasta dishes at your local Boston Pizza with Pasta Tuesday promos every single day, 7 days a week at your local Boston Pizza. Pop in today. And of course, if you can't make it or it's a little too cold to get outside, you can always get it hot and fresh to your door. The great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. And a huge shout out to our friends at Royal Sports for 40 years plus. Family owned and operated, the number one hockey and sports superstore in town. If you play hockey or have a hockey player in the family, you probably already know that Royal Sports is your one-stop shop for full equipment, goalie gear, sticks, skates, right down to stick tape, pucks, and skate sharpening. But I will remind you that as we look outside and the river trail is absolutely mint right now, many people not necessarily needing an expensive pair of hockey skates, just want to go out and make the most of Winnipeg winter. Royal is the best place in town for some affordable recreational skate options that won't set you back maybe the same amount of that a pair of the blades that the pros use. Get on down there. While you're at it, check out all the best selection of Winnipeg Jets merchandise, Bomber gear, NFL, NHL, you name it, they've got it. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Don't forget to check out all the cool stuff on the King Skate, Snow, and Surf side. And give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops, specials, and sale information. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Great sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk.
All right, there's us. He's on his way to KC. He'll be back next week. Chiefs, Texans, the opener of divisional playoff round. And one guy who's going to help us tee it all up, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, the website, leehacksawhamilton.com. He's here on YouTube as well, putting out some great content, Instagram, TikTok. He's everywhere. And here, Lee, right here. How's it going, Lee? Thanks so much for coming on with me today.
Mikey, is it the weekend yet? Are you ready for NFL football? It is Football Friday. It is Beer Friday. Man, we got a lot to talk about. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. The Jets with a thrilling last-minute win, pulling out Dylan DeMello. Second goal of the season with 27 seconds left to get the win over Seattle. There's been an extended homestand, so it's the one thing that's taken our mind off this blizzard here that's closed a majority of the roads and a lot of reduced visibility. But thanks so much for coming on, Lee. I think this is one of the best weekends of football. You got 4 games, great matchups, a lot of great quarterbacks as well, and players who can really make a name for themselves in terms of NFL history. And Patrick Mahomes and the KC Chiefs looking to go for a three-peat, and they start at home tomorrow against Houston, who upset the LA Chargers last week.
Yeah, we'll just go game by game. It's big boy football now. There are no pretenders. These are all contenders. Maybe there's one surprise in the whole lot. But boy, the matchups are going to be superb. And let's just go ahead and start with Kansas City and Houston. I think the Texans shot all their bullets in the surprise win against the Chargers. Not that Houston wasn't a good team, but Houston had not played well since midseason. And the Chargers played really poorly, and they left that quarterback on the street corner by himself, and Justin Herbert got pounded. Awful lot of criticism on the West Coast, the outcome of the Charger game. Two things at the top of my mind. Herbert can't do it by himself. He threw 4 picks. He got sacked 4 times, got hit 11 times, got pressured 7 times, had no run game. His offensive line, with all those number 1 draft picks, really let him down. His wide receivers, tight ends, dropped passes, deflected passes that turned into interceptions. It was just a disaster from start to finish. So it takes the shine off what everybody in the national media has said, oh, this is a good Charger season. Well, it was not. Yes, you won 11 games, but who the hell did you beat? You didn't beat anybody of note. And when you played good teams, you got punched in the mouth. Now, that being said, I think Houston shot all of its bullets. Now they go into Arrowhead. They're facing a rested team. Kansas City gave its starters the last weekend off, then Kansas City had the bye week. Kansas City is probably the healthiest it's been since before the start of the season. And you got C.J. Stroud going to the line of scrimmage against Steve Spagnuolo's defense, which is going to be a challenge. Now, from the Kansas City perspective, Hustler and I and you have talked about Kansas City is really weak at left tackle and at right tackle. And they've just confirmed within the hour that they're moving their Pro Bowl guard, Joe Thuney, out to left tackle because they have to do something to slow down this Houston pass rush. And the Houston pass rush has been phenomenal. In fact, Houston's defense has been phenomenal. Houston's got 53 quarterback sacks, 33 takeaways, Mike. So this will be a challenge. Can they contain what Houston brings off the line of scrimmage defensively? But it is Mahomes. He's 15-3 in his career postseason. It is Kelsey. It is now the suddenly best health the wide receiver group has had. They got 3 running backs that are now healthy, and you got Andy Reid's bleeping brilliant. So I think Kansas City wins this game, but it will be fascinating just to see the matchup of what Thuney moving out to left tackle, if he's going to be able to cope with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Those 2 pass rush guys have been superb. So this is not going to be an easy day at the office for Kansas City, but I think Kansas City's got more weapons than Houston does. And by the way, the game is at Arrowhead. So that's the first big AFC game.
The first one, the Saturday night. I love the Saturday night NFC game. Washington and Detroit, the highest the highest game total. Expecting a lot of points in the fast track in Detroit, but you have to be really impressed with how rookie QB Jaden Daniels handled himself in the win against Tampa. But I'm looking at the line here. Detroit, big favorite. They were in the NFC Championship game last year, and they're looking to return this year, and a nice opportunity for them to get there on Saturday night. 9.5-point favorite. Seems like a very, very high number, and 55-point total.
Lions, best collective season since 1934. That was a lot of third downs ago. I mean, this is a really impressive team. Now, they've gotten there by virtue of the offense because the defense has just been torn by injuries. But in terms of Detroit, they're facing the kid quarterback. Jaden Daniels, 33 touchdowns, 4,700 all-purpose yards, does not make mistakes. That being said, this game is at Ford Field. You're going to play the Lions defense, and you're going to play 72,000 crazy fans wearing Hawaiian blue indoors. From the Washington perspective, everybody's talked about Daniels all year, and rightfully so, and Terry McLaurin and what they're doing with the committee of running backs and the other wide receivers. Nobody's talking about their defensive front, and those guys have played really, really well. Now, the question is, if you're Washington on defense, pick your poison. Who are you going to stop? You're going to stop Jared Goff, who's got 37 touchdowns and 4,700 yards passing? You're going to stop the two-headed monster at running back? Do you think you can really put a lid on Amon St. Brown and the tight ends they've got? I mean, Detroit's got enormous firepower. So I think the Cinderella story for Washington ends this weekend. I think the wheels come off the carriage because you're playing the Lions, you're playing the Lions defense, you're playing the Lions offense, and you're playing against 72,000 fans going crazy in Motown. So I think this is going to be more of a one-sided game than anybody realizes, but take nothing away from the success that the Washington Commanders have said, because back in September when this whole thing started, I don't think anybody that I know expected it to be like this. A successful campaign, Washington, greater vision though for Detroit.
Looking incredible. They can beat you in many ways, and I'm sure we'll see some crazy trick play, Lee, where some offensive lineman has to report eligible before and catches a touchdown, right? They seem to pull those out. Ben Johnson, he's a name who's been up for a lot of head coaching jobs as well, and we'll see what happens there. Moving on to Sunday afternoon, the LA Rams, they won against Minnesota in the neutral site game in Arizona on Monday. They're off to Philadelphia. The Eagles, this seems to be the more under the radar game of the four games.
Well, I think there's half the country on the eastern seaboard is of the opinion, no problem, Philadelphia. The Eagles, mean green, they're really good. And they are. But you're not paying attention to what's happened out here on the left coast. What this LA Rams team has accomplished, despite all the injuries and despite retirements and trades, what Sean McVay has done to drive this thing to 10 wins in the last 13 games, when they were 1-4 at the start, is amazing. From the Philadelphia standpoint, the Rams have to commit the house to stop Saquon Barkley. Last time they saw Barkley, Mike, early in the season, Barkley had touchdown runs of 70 and 72 and finished with 300 all-purpose yards. But that was against a young Rams defense that was just learning on the job. Well, the defense has gotten progressively better and better. So I think they have to commit the house to slow down Barkley, put the game in the hands of Jalen Hurts. Hurts has now become a one-dimension quarterback because of the concussions. They don't want him running the football, which means he's going to have to throw the football. Big question, can the Rams' young secondary hold up against the wide receivers and the tight ends that Philadelphia has coming off the line of scrimmage? The flip side of that is Philadelphia's defensive front seven is really good. It's really young. Matthew Stafford is a warrior at quarterback for the Rams, and he makes a lot of plays. He's got a 1,000-yard running back. He's got 2 wide receivers and a pretty tough tight end. So can Philadelphia's, quote, young guys in the secondary cover Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakaro, Tyler Higbee? Can they hold up? Because Stafford's going to do some things. I think Philadelphia has to be given the edge. Unsung in all this is the statistic Philadelphia's given up just 274 yards per game this season. So that proves how really good they are. This is going to be a great game. But Stafford's got a world of experience. There's some limitations on Hurt. And can the Rams stop Saquon Barkley? A fascinating storylines. I think it's going to be a better game than what he realizes.
Saquon Barkley breaking fantasy players and bettors' hearts by taking the knee before the touchdown, opting to secure the win. Lee, that's what they're trying to do. And the Sunday night, the main event of the weekend, Baltimore at Buffalo. Two MVPs of their team, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I expect a lot of fireworks, and this could be a game to remember, and we could set up for a great AFC championship, the winner of that game with the winner of KC hosting Houston. But, which quarterback is gonna get it done for their team here with Baltimore and Buffalo?
The date line is Highmark Stadium. The address is MVP Bowl. That's what this is. This is Lamar Jackson. This is Josh Allen. This is obviously Baltimore, Buffalo. Intangible, 9 degrees, snow showers, and wind. Josh Allen has much more experience playing in those elements than Lamar Jackson does. But I'll tell you, Mikey, the stats that these two quarterbacks have put up are just staggering. And for years and years, Lamar Jackson had to do it by himself. This is the first time in his career he has been surrounded by firepower and a lot of talent. And, you look at Lamar's numbers, 5,343 yards, all-purpose yards, run and pass. The guy's accounted for 49 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions this season. And he's a great athlete. Now he's a more accomplished passer, and he's got people to hand the ball off to, a.k.a. Derrick Henry. Now, from the Buffalo standpoint, Josh Allen has been a one-man gang. Josh Allen, though, has quit turning the football over, which kind of plagued him all the way back to his days at the University of Wyoming. And I saw him as a college quarterback. He was marvelous, but he made mistakes. And early on in Buffalo, he did the exact same thing. This is a much different Josh Allen right now. This is just going to be a fun game. And obviously, he's got two young wide receivers that nobody paid attention to. What Shakir has become, what Keon Coleman has become, have really complemented the tight ends. They got a young running back who's finally found himself over 1,000 yards. So, I mean, this is just a really diverse Baltimore team and a very dangerous Buffalo team. And the Bills are 9 at home on the Niagara Frontier, regardless of what the weather is. And it's going to be winter on Sunday night. So MVP Bowl, what a great game this is going to be.
Yeah, that's why they call it the best weekend in NFL playoffs. You get 4 games. Last game we had the extra, and next week you have the championships in each conference. But this is going to be up there. I can't wait. Thank you for coming on, Lee. And while this is going on, we do have some off-season news. A number of head coaching vacancies. What do you want to start with here on your NFL notebook? I see Tom Brady taking over a major role with the Raiders, their coaching search. Dallas, they're going to get Deion Sanders. What's happening with these? Mike McCarthy, is he going to Chicago? I mean, it seems like there are a number of vacancies available here.
Yeah, let's just run through the roadmap here. The Dallas situation, the decision to remove Mike McCarthy has not gone over well in the Cowboy locker room. At the end of the day, it is Jerry Jones' team. Jerry Jones is general manager. Jerry Jones the owner. Jerry Jones roster. Jerry Jones will make this decision. Players are not happy that McCarthy was cut loose. McCarthy had done very well in very trying circumstances, as witnessed by the wreckage of all the injuries this season. But prior to that, 3 straight 12-win seasons. So that's an issue. I don't know if Coach Prime is the right guy. There's an asterisk now to that conversation because the University Colorado says he's got an $8 million buyout. I don't think Jerry Jones wants to write a check for $8 million to set Deion Sanders free to come to Dallas. The other absurd aspect of this thing is they're talking to Jason Witten, legendary tight end, has never coached a minute in his life, and they're asking him if he'd be interested in becoming the head coach of the Cowboys. The third name has got experience. It's Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders, who's been the architect of all the unique things that Jaden Daniels has done. So those are the 3 names there, but this decision has not gone down well. McCarthy goes on the street corner this past Tuesday and gets immediate contact, interview in Chicago, interview coming in New Orleans. For him to go to Chicago makes a lot of sense because quarterback is in place. He did used to coach in New Orleans, so he knows that family. And obviously, they still got Derek Carr there, so keep an eye on that situation. Raider Nation, it's kind of weird. Interviewed Pete Carroll. I think he should be a hot candidate. Tom Brady is carrying a lot of influence there. They had an unbelievable interview with Ben Johnson in Detroit. There is a sentiment, because Tom Brady also recommended they get rid of the general manager, Tom Telesco, in addition to Antonio Pierce, that Brady may be trying to link Lance Newmark, who is a longtime 20-year assistant in the Detroit Lions front office, that they might look at him as being the general manager and the confidant for Ben Johnson, and that might curry them favor. Only issue is Ben Johnson. If you were to walk in there and look at that Raider roster, they got no players. They got no quarterback and no way to get a quarterback in the draft, no running back. They traded Devontae Adams. The defense is a little bit better. The one unique thing about what's happened, they dismissed Tom Telesco, the general manager, who I knew very well, having been in San Diego, and with the LA Chargers. Tom Telesco left him 10 draft picks. Tom Telesco left him $107 million in cap space, highest in the National Football League. So the new guy coming in the front door is going to have some opportunities to spend money and do creative things with the draft, but you got to find a quarterback. Somebody, I don't know if Ben Johnson wants to do it that way. Johnson is also enthralled by Jacksonville, which is still open. They got the quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who needs polish and needs some help, and Chris Jacksonville needs some help along the way. New Orleans is talking to Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator whose season just ended up in Minnesota. He might be the hot guy that winds up there. Another interesting name is Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator at Tampa Bay. He's the one that put all the X's and O's on the board for Baker Mayfield to throw 41 touchdowns this season. Cohen looks like he's a hot candidate. He might be a Jacksonville guy. So, and of course, Vrabel's already gone to New England. And the Jets are interviewing everybody. Have they interviewed you? They haven't called me yet, but they're interviewing everybody. They've interviewed 21 different people so far. And of course, that place is kind of dysfunctional right now. So it's going to be fascinating to see where it goes. These dominoes will start falling pretty doggone quickly. But some of the marquee guys, you still can't do face-to-face interviews till their teams are eliminated from the playoffs. So Detroit's guys are really, even though they had Zoom calls, have not had face-to-face interviews with anybody at this point in time. So it's going to be fascinating going forward. And then we got the playoffs, and we got the coaching carousel and front office hires. General manager jobs are still open too.
Yeah, you mentioned the New York Jets. I think everyone's ears perked up when it came out that the owner's sons was influencing, decisions based on players' ratings in Madden. So anything can happen over there. As we wind it down, Lee, it was a sad day yesterday. Legendary Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster, Hall of Famer Bob Uecker, passing away at age 90. Did you ever cross paths with Bob Uecker, and could you speak about what he meant to baseball and broadcasting?
Interviewed him a couple of different times. Most unique person. And Mike, I've done this a long time, like Hustler has. I've interviewed a lot of great personalities. This was a great personality. And the first thing that flashed into my mind when I got a text that Bob had passed away at age 90, he lived a hell of a life. He lived every minute of every day with a smile on his face and a joke on his mind. And the first thing that popped into my mind were the phrases, the things that came out of his mouth, like just a bit outside, and the talk about his career and all the things he said at the Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony when he was inducted into the broadcaster's wing. And he said, well, gee, I was waiting for the phone call from Cooperstown. I thought I would get in. I was a 200 hitter in my life. And then he told me one time, I asked him to summarize his baseball career, broadcasting and as a catcher with the old Milwaukee Braves. He said, not bad for a 200 hitter, eh, Lee? He was a great gentleman. He was classy. He knew everybody. He was respected. His broadcasts were so different because he'd done everything, experienced everything, and he would just tell those stories during the course of Milwaukee Brewers casts. And that has nothing to separate him from the stuff on TV. Mr. Belvedere, which was kind of unique and very different. And then obviously the Miller Lite commercials. And they're all over social network now. If you want a really good laugh, take a look at some of the Bob Uecker Miller Lite commercials. He was just, what an unbelievable gentleman. He lived every day of his life with a smile on his face and a joke in his hip pocket. He's a cool guy. And now he's in the ultimate cheap seats, front row up in heaven. Hell of a man.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lee. I wanted to get your perspective there. Legendary voice, known for baseball, but so much more. I mean, I'm seeing clips of him on the Tonight Show and in Major League and at WrestleMania. Like, I don't know if today you have that kind of play-by-play voice that's such a superstar in so many, different mediums there.
Well, it was interesting because on my podcast yesterday, at the end, we saluted Uecker and all the things he had done, and the fact that I had interviewed him multiple times as a sports talk guy here on the West Coast. And somebody asked me, who are the other personas that have come from the playing field or the court to become personas on the air? And I mean, I needed time to think, but just off the top of my head, NBA, Sir Charles Barkley. You've got to comment about everything, whether you like it or not. Obviously, the NFL, maybe Tony Romo, very unique personality. And then in the NHL, Hockey Night in Canada's Don Cherry. You may not have liked his jackets, but I'll guarantee you that was must-see TV because the stuff that came out of his mouth sometimes was right on the mark and sometimes was way off the street. I would say those just off the top of my head are some of the most unique personas who came from the field, the floor, the ice to do their thing in front of you and me on TV.
Perfectly. I loved having you on the show today, getting your takes on the NFL playoffs. So looking forward to having you back with your NFL notebook next week. And I'll invite everyone to tune into your website or read your website, leeoxahamilton.com, or check you out here on YouTube. We always send all our viewers to you, I think, Mondays and Thursdays, correct?
Mondays and Thursdays, and today, Friday, tomorrow, Saturday, and then Sunday, all at 1 p.m. Pacific, we're doing a special salute. This is the 30th anniversary of the greatest moment in San Diego Chargers football history. I was a longtime voice of the Chargers. This weekend is the 30th anniversary of them beating the Steelers in Pittsburgh. We have a special program that just started on our YouTube channel today. We have a different program tomorrow, and we have an NFL Films video that I put together that's going to air Sunday. It's all at 1 p.m. Pacific each of the days of the week. If you love NFL football, check it out. And thanks to the O Canada Network, because your guys from Winnipeg are really cool, joining us when we're done with you guys with Hustler. Hey, Mike, we'll chat with you next Friday. Have a great sports weekend.
Perfect. Yes, you too, Lee. Have a great sports weekend here on Beer Friday, right? Beer Friday. There he is, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Mentioned the website, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Reels. There he is, Lee Hacksaw. All knowing. Anything, throw it at him. Love talking sports with Lee. Well, the marble race is open. Exclamation mark marbles in chat. I see a number of people already putting it in. 251 users already in the race. We got 442 people in chat. Shout out to everyone in chat. What's going on? Hey, thanks for coming out. 200 of you have hit the thumbs up. Appreciate that. Again, tells YouTube we're putting up some good content. Maybe it'll show it to other people. And that's how, a lot of people come in here. The thumbnail shows up on their homepage. They click on it and say, hey, I like these guys. I'll give them a subscribe, a thumbs up. And if you can't catch the show, podcast as well. I got a new podcast provider. It's coming out very quickly on there on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So hit the subscribe there. All the links, all of our social medias in the description of this video. So check us out on there. I did just hit 3,000 followers on Facebook. I've been grinding on there, maybe too hard for 4 years. Could probably have done that more efficiently. But hey, we're there. We're growing every day. So I appreciate it. We're about to celebrate a 4th anniversary coming up. But here, it's time to get some fan feedback here. Let me pull up the fan feedback graphic for fans first. Hold on, let me pull. I'm doing everything here. I'm just going to pull up this graphic here. Let's see. Hold on, I got it. There it is. Fans first. 1 second. It's just me. Hustler is away. Yes, there it is. Did I add Hustler? I didn't add Hustler. I do that. I do that at the end. Add Hustler. So if you have a take on the Winnipeg Jets win last night, the upcoming trade deadline, this weekend's game against Calgary, if you got a pick for the NFL playoffs, I'll give whoever wants, I'll give them a shout out here for fans first. Yes. Fans feedback brought to you by Fans First, your best option for buying and selling tickets in Winnipeg with no fees. What you see is what you pay. Certainly the best place. If you have a pair of extra seats you need to sell, I can tell you that I've had a spare seats and on the odd occasion I've needed to put them up for sale. Utilizing Fans First, so user-friendly. The customer service is so great, and you're getting paid the next day right after the game. I know Fans First, they've been busy this season, no doubt about that. And let's get to a couple comments here. Oh, here's a great comment from regular chatter BA Split. Not trying to get on his good side because I always am, but Remo is evolving into a good host. Show by show, he does himself. BA, I appreciate the lovely comment. Practice does make perfect, and I've filled in for Hustler a couple of these. So I guess I'm getting more comfortable. Darth Skater says the clampdown of Seattle was incredible. Son of Dirk says Remo is awesome. Randy D wants to know if WST is on Blue Sky. We are on there. We're on everything Sports Talk WPG. Spency 5 Sensi is here from Edmonton Sports Talk. He wants to know the lack of John Klingberg talk. Yes, they just announced, Oilers did, that they signed defenseman John Klingberg. I want to think of John Klingberg. I always think of him turning down, what was it, like a 7-year, I think $7 million AAV contract with Dallas, and then, signing that 1-year deal with Anaheim. Got some bad advice from his agent and cost him some money there, but he's back in the NHL. Let me see. Jay Miller wanted me to comment on a report from Insider Trading that the Four Nations not selling as well as expected. I mean, I did see last row at the Bell Center in Montreal selling for $300. I know the jerseys aren't available now either. I'm sure it'll pick up as it gets closer to the event. I mean, Canada, USA, you want to get excited to that. Matt Murat says, awesome game live. He got past tickets last minute, like at 6:56. So glad I dropped everything to go down there. Was certainly a great experience there at the arena last night. I do love the new things, security things when you walk in the building. I used to go in. I used to have so much stuff that I'd have to dump on the table. I got a wallet. I got keys. I got a phone. They're like, take your hat off. Take your charger out. I got gum, whatever. Don't have to take that out anymore. Just walk right through. Takes 2 seconds. iHeart says, so the jerseys are selling, the tickets are? No. The jerseys are not available for the Four Nations. They will be at Royal Sports, I'm sure, soon coming up. Rob Pepper says, keep Rasmus Anderson here after the game. Yes, and comment adds, or Uyghur. So we'll see what happens there. But fans first. Thanks, everyone, for your fan feedback here, brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling tickets by fans, for fans, with no fees. In Ehlers, we trust as Remo dumping the purse. I usually wear a fanny pack, not quite a purse, but I got to carry a lot of stuff, and I don't know, when my battery gets low, it gets around 20% in the red, I start to get anxiety. I need to have that portable charger with me in the chair. We'll look at some of the lines tonight. That's NFL this weekend. KC -8.5 favorites against Houston. That's tomorrow. Detroit -9.5 against Washington. The Eagles -6 against LA Rams. And the Ravens-Bills. Bills home slight underdog +1. Does anyone have any leans there on NFL? Only 2 NHL games tonight. Buffalo -130 hosting Pittsburgh, +110. Buffalo, they're coming off a win. And could this be a potential Stanley Cup final? Carolina -154 hosting Vegas, +130. I do enjoy the Cool Bet exclusives. There is a Lock Shop partner parlay. Let's see. You got Chiefs. This is a ride with Dusty. Chiefs 1.5. Detroit -2.5. Rams +12.5. And Ravens +5.5. So a bit of a teaser there at +210 if you want to ride with noted Lions fan Dustin Nielsen. They also have a partner parlay here. Terry McLaurin over 68 receiving yards. Jamison Williams over 57 receiving yards. And Justice Hill over 3 receptions at +550. I actually like that one. And then they do have Jaden Daniels to lead the weekend in passing and Derrick Henry to lead the weekend in rushing. +3,100 if you want a long shot. And these are fun. House callers. Kelsey, Gibbs, Kyron Williams, and Derrick Henry to score +881. Those I did hit on the points from the point yesterday. That was a fun one. They got some early bird NFL. Is there a big boxing fight going on that I don't know about? I guess there's a lot of boxing in here. And they do have the Lock Shop Bowl, Chiefs, Lions, if you want to make them to meet in the Super Bowl, +414. So those are the bets for CoolBet, coolbet.com. Great site for wagering. All right, it's time for the marble race, and it is the country night tomorrow at Canada Life Center. Make sure you get there early to get your hat. I think first 7,500 fans, they're giving away a Winnipeg Jets cowboy hat. And, it's not country night at Canada Life Center without the Marble country song.
It's Friday, another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat get yourself maybe an ice cream truck or a bottle of beer. Falling the whole day in, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give blind luck a try. It's time to do a marble race. No skill separating best to worst. Marble race. Just tie the marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Truck beer, blue jeans, girl, go back to town. Truck beer. Marble race. Get to your mark before it's too late. Set, go. Truck.
There it is, the country version, Tristan Rivers Music, bringing it for country night tomorrow at Canada Life Center. All right, I'm copying. I closed the race. I closed it, ! Marbles. 270 users in the thing here. I will throw Hustler in. He always likes to get into the race, all capitals. Hustler, let me just copy this forward. If anyone want to shout out any of their plans this weekend? What's everyone? Isn't that what the server says at the end of your meal when they're serving you? They say, "Hey, what's everyone up to this weekend?" I'll pull that on the chat here if anyone's got anything exciting. I did see tickets to Bush went on sale today in terms of concerts. I know Sum 41 is on Monday. And I did get an email that the Tacos and Tequila Festival is back. They announced it. It was so great last year at the Blue Cross Park. This year they have Timbaland, Exhibit, Trick Daddy, Baby Yash, Young Jock, Bubba Sparks, and DJ Ashton Martin, plus a TBA headliner. We'll see who that is. Tacos and Tequila Festival was here for the first time last year. Will feature Lucha Libre Wrestling. That's hard to say, with luchadors coming in from Tijuana. A Chihuahua beauty pageant. Sounds amazing. Art installations, photo ops, and more. I got all the marble names in. I'm going to paste them into my notepad. Hold on, let me do this. 270 marbles. I will put in Hustler in there. Should I put in Kyle Connor for his hat trick? No, but I will shout him out. I'm saving it here. Marbles. Jan 17. Seems like it's flown by here. Flown by. And I'm gonna pick a track. Let's get to the track. One sec. Doing so much here. Did I say Dua Lipa? I did not say Dua Lipa. Rob Mahoney's going to watch the Jets tear apart the Flames. Yes, that is tomorrow night. Vince's place. He's got beer league hockey. And Bravo Bry says Dad Bod performing at Grant Park Pony Corral. Shout out to Bravo Bry's band Dad Bod. Actually, I will give a shout out to the Earl of Eli. He's got his card show. Where is it? His card show, Manitoba Sports Card and Collectible Show, 3584 Portage. So check that out. I know they got some nice cards there. I've been looking at Hellebuck Young Guns. I know those have gone up in price. I've been following on eBay since he got his 300th win. Okay, let's bring up the marble race. It's here. I need a drink of water here. I've been talking all day. Got to do the play-by-play. Paul Carr says I should give him marble to Smoke Dylan DeMello with 600 games and the game-winning goal. Okay, I got my marble race written down. It was, hold on, where was it? I'll do this one. I think it's a good one. So everyone's writing in their plans. Oh, man, shout out to everyone in chat. Champions... Which one was this one? Champions Record Racing was the good one. Is that still here? I think this Champions Dynamic Sports was a good one. I'll go back to a Dylan 70 track Okay. 1 second. Marble. Thanks. Have a generic beer. You deserve one. Thanks, Derek. Let me pull all these in. I'm doing everything here. I did all the thumbnails, did the hosting, did the interviews, did the switching of the cameras, did the loading it in, did the troubleshooting. Now we're doing my favorite part, the play-by-play of the marble race. I can pretend like I'm Paul Edmonds, Dan Robertson, even Bob Uecker or Lee Hacksaw Hamilton calling, he's the voice of the San Diego Chargers. All right, let's pull it up. Champions Dynamic Sports. Yes, and Leslie Mitchell gives a shout to Rasmus Kupari to his 200th game yesterday. Kind of went under the radar. Got overshadowed a little by Dylan DeMello. Maybe if Kupari... Well, they actually had a pretty good performance, their line. Mary Jane says, I'm doing a great job. Kevin Kowalik says, I've never heard of Mail It In Friday. Well, we're going long. I should have gone, if I was smart, I would have ended this at 3 o'clock. But no, I got to squeeze in every minute I can in the host chair before Hustler grabs it. Just kidding around. Here we are. Champions Dynamic Sports. Champions Dynamic Sports. Bravo Brian says, I'm here doing it all. Let me move myself over just a touch here. There. Oh, I did this wrong. 1 sec. Sorry, we're going to restart this. We'll restart it. And yeah, just looking at some other NHL news, trade rumors swirling around, trade deadline. What day is the trade deadline? Is it March 7? Let's see. Trade deadline. I think it's March. It's the Friday. It is the Friday. March 7 at 2 p.m. So make sure you have it on your calendar. It's going to be a big show for us. It is our 4th anniversary that week. The 1,000th show could be that week as well. We'll be going long talking about whatever trades, but I think the Jets may go on early. Make the trade early. They did make the Monahan trade a month before the deadline. I do think that is the move. Champions Dynamic Sports, 271 marbles. Sorry, we'll do this. We'll load them all in. They're all coming in. Bam. All right, we're in. So we'll see what happens with the deadline, but stay tuned. We'll be here for all the live updates on that. Here we go. 271 marbles. They are at the starting line. Gentlemen, start your marbles. And they're off. Going down in this kind of like a Plinko style thing. We'll see who comes out first. Going into the cannon. Speaking of cannon, the cannon prominently featured on the Blue Jackets Stadium Series jerseys. They're taking on the Detroit Red Wings next month at Ohio Stadium. Should be a great one if you're not tired of outdoor games. A couple ways to go here. I'm not really sure who's in first. There's so many marbles getting shot out of the cannon. And moving forward, the winner will get a hoodie, Winnipeg Sports Talk hoodie, from our friends at Ship 'Em and Supply. Give them a shout out for making those hoodies for us. But it looks like, I think that's King Kenny in number 1, and there's Jets number 1 in there. So we'll see who makes it around. They're both trying to get to this hole here, and then it's going a big drop. So Elias McCracken's in there. Miller time. Swervin' Mervin's got some speed. His marbles shined up real good. Getting some good friction on the track. Mike Crocker and Winnipeg. Who will get there first? It's Miller time. Swervin' Mervin. And Miller time down there into this spokes-looking thing. He's down. Swervin' Mervin behind Mike Cochran, WPG. And they're into the heart. We're, less than a month till Valentine's Day. Into this tube. Miller time. He's got the lead. Darth Skater, DJ22. People are hot on his tail, but it's Miller time into the shark mouth. But there's Jerry Beluda, Ross Ransby, and Swervin' Mervin. So people are hot on your tail, Miller time. You're in first going down the stairs. And we got a couple more. There's a lot left, so anything can happen here in the marble race. But it's Miller time. down the slide, coming out, hitting the wall, and now they're back moving forward. There's a couple ways to go here. And we got Bravo Bry eliminated from the sky. SK, bye-bye. So, but it's Jerry Beluta. He's taking over first place here. Millertime still in there. Ross Ransby, I see D20. A number of different ways to go. Jerry Beluta has found his way. Drop it down. And there's going to be a cannon at the end into the hoop. So Jerry Beluta and Ross Ransby, they are battling. They are neck and neck. And it's Ross Ransby who's in the battle with Hustler every week. Could he finally win? He's into this square, but there's Jerry, who's going to come out first. Ross Ransby is approaching the cannon. Can he make it into the basketball net? And he's up, and it is no good. It's Jerry Beluta with the win. Ross Ransby did not make it. Jerry Beluta taking down the marble race in dramatic fashion. That was a crazy finish. Ross Ransby got to the cannon first, shot up, did not make it into the hoop, and it was Jerry's to take. Wow, what a finish here at the Friday WST Marble Race. That was incredible. Denied. Denied. That was some finish. That was some. I thought Ross Ransby, he's been in here every week and couldn't quite finish. That was it. That was an incredible race. Scardy says, Ross, I'd send that to Toronto to a review if I was you. Johnny Bender's pumped for his top 5 finish. The Marble Gods hate Ross Ransby. Garrett Sully says, great finish, great call on the race. It's your boy Bruce. I would have nightmares. Todd says, I'm sure Huss is having a good chuckle. Leslie says, I'd cry if that was me. Wow. So I guess Huss probably finished ahead of Ross Ransby because Ross technically got eliminated. So Jerry Beluta is the winner. Jerry, contact us, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. We'll set you up with your prize, the hoodie. Rob Pepper in second, longtime listener. Miller Time 1980s here. Stoop 223 ! Johnny Bender in fifth. Son of Dirk, Darth Skater, Mary Jane. What's up, Mary Jane? Amanda, former winner, and Drew Music. That makes your top 10. We'll go down. Saw Mike Lay at the game last night. A number of long-time listeners: T-Bone, Andrew Haleko, Larry, Eagle Eyes, poker player Spency, 5 Centsy. Someone from Edmonton's got to win one of these times. You think? Dallas Pauls. What's up, Dallas? Rob Mahoney, Cowboy, Turd Ferguson's always in there. Billy Blast. I see you at the game last night, Billy. Bardo, Dan Milburn, the Earl of Eli, Waiters. So big list, all caps, Kyle, Retro Winnipeg, Scott Westman, so many names that we see every week. We're so thankful to all of the listeners who do come and get up for the Marble Race. Candace, Jane, Frosty, Leanne, I believe, the former winner, Donnie Boy, Tristan Rivers, OVR Montenegro from the EST crew. And there's a number of DNFs, including T. Will, eliminated just like his Steelers, Wayne Bretsky, Pretty and Pionk, it's your boy Bruce, Jeremy Nickerson, Kevin Kowalik, so many names, Phyllis, that we see. There's Hustler, DNF, a lot of DNF, says Randy. There's Randy D, Derek Schmidt. So yeah, a lot of DNFs, Uchaz, so from the EST crew, Eric Jorleifson, Matt Hyman, so many names that are here every week. You know, there's too many, 271 racers in this. So Jet Oil Tom, and there's Ross Ransby with his big DNF. So we had 119 finished of the 271 in the race, including that exhilarating finish. So there it is. What a great show. What a great show it was today. Talking about the Jets win. I'm so appreciative. Everyone's coming out here basking in the first place Winnipeg Jets. I want to hear about the game. Thank you to our guest, Connor Hrabchak, Derek Taylor. Sorry. Jon Abbott, Murat, and Hacksaw as well. Big shout out to our sponsors. Check them out. Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Princess Auto, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Fans First, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and the Winnipeg Jets. People are just calling that the marble screw job, which we just witnessed. Well, I'm going to end the show. I got to get on with my weekend. I hope everyone has a great time. Make sure you're here on Sunday morning for WST Sunday Live, talking about the Jets Flames game at Country Night. Yeehaw. Anyways, I'll send you guys over to EST, Edmonton Sports Talk. They're talking about John Klingberg, a big signing for them. All right, this is the big finish. Thanks again, everyone, tuning out. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to the sponsors. We'll see everyone. I'll be in the host chair again on Monday, talking about the Jets weekend. So thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.